Whoa, it's the CU Podcast. Whoa, it's the CU Podcast. Yeah! CU Podcast time.
It's the dog days of summer on the CU Podcast. This is our 130th one. Wow. Wow, it's July 31st, Tuesday.
Boy, oh boy.
2018. That's Ian Ferguson. He's excited. He ran through the sprinkler on his front lawn yesterday. I'm Pat Contry.
I wish I did.
I did a super soaker battle with the pump-up grenade water balloons.
I love the water balloons that actually look like grenades.
Yes.
Yeah, those are the best. Those are just fantastic.
I don't think you can confuse. I don't think a kid's going to get shot by a cop because how many kids will have a grenade anyway? But those are fun.
Uh-huh.
Those are always also a little bit thicker balloon rubber. Those sometimes it actually hurt more if they didn't explode. They hit
Oh
you.
yeah, no, they stung.
They'd be like flop.
They definitely stung, and they were always made so that if you inflated them, if you filled them just right, they actually had little bumps on the outside. They were a little bit bumpy on the outside.
Oh, you're a little bumpy on the outside. What are we talking about? No Man's Sky. The death, apparently, of Movie Pass. The hoary Switch left Joy-Con with a D-pad. A Sega pop-up book that Ian will probably want to marry. Escapist going for non-political gaming news. Not nudes. That'd be a different topic. A Pikachu butt plug. And your Q&A. Ian, we had fun at Comic-Con, didn't we? We had fun.
I did, actually. I had fun this year.
Well, I said we, but okay.
Well, I don't know if you had fun. That would be up to you. I can say that I had fun, yes.
Okay, so half of us had fun at least.
I had a good time. The key to having a good time at Comic-Con as I enter my late 30s is to not go as often. I had a lot of fun on Friday with Vonnie. That was the first day I went, was the Friday. We walked around. We had a good time. We were there for most of the day. I think we tapped out about 6. Saw all the booths I needed to very early. Went
Squid Kids?
Yep. I always like going there. We chatted. We chatted with Nate for about half an hour.
We got to work with them. We got to figure that out. There's something there.
Nah, artists like to work on their own, man. I don't.
Okay, then I shouldn't have that conversation with him then that he seemed okay with.
I mean, I'm just saying, like, I work with him in what way? A CU podcast cartridge would be great.
What the hell else you think I meant?
I don't know.
Taking
Buy
over his
him out?
business?
Yeah.
Buy them out? We can sell plastic carts at conventions? No, Ian, that's not what work with someone means. This isn't Shark Tank.
I like the playing cards he does a lot. Actually, he does the playing card stuff. I got a
if you haven't seen them out there, these are the Nintendo cartridges with arms and legs. They're
mini
adorable.
Nintendo, he calls them.
He's done dozens of designs, it seems, at this point. There's a lot.
They're awesome, and he also loves playing cards, so he does his own playing cards. He has a one of the things that I really like that he does. He has what are called sketch studs. They're blank plastic cards, and if you buy them from him at a show, he'll do a sketch on them. So I got one of those this year.
Go to squidkidsinc.com. This isn't an advertisement, but we like his stuff. We've bought stuff off him for years. Ian gave me a present. I had that giant blue special edition one. I think he had one left this year.
Yeah.
Which I got to find from the move. There's things that now I still don't know what they are.
If you're ever at Luna, we have one of the gold ones on one of our desks. At our wedding, all of our centerpieces were blank mini Nintendos, actually, and we ran around the one year.
That's right.
We bought a case of the blank ones, and then we ran around at con that year and had various artists do sketches on the blank labels.
I forget which one was at my table.
But it was really cool. A lot of fun. Anyway, so, real good dude. That's always one of my favorite places to stop every year.
Oh, sure.
And so we had a blast on that Saturday. That Friday. That Saturday, I went down, but I spent most of the day hanging out with my friend Adam, who I bumped into. I was outside of the convention for most of that day. I was there for maybe 2 hours, and then that was it. But I had fun. I was not overloaded. I was not overburdened. I took it easy.
I want to say that it seemed like, versus the past 5 or 6 years, a more muted Comic-Con. There was only a few big announcements. There wasn't any huge event like the Star Wars Orchestra or any weird surprises that came up during the event. It was like, holy shit, we weren't expecting that. There wasn't anything like that. It was just, oh, here's a trailer for Aquaman. We know that's coming out. Here's a Godzilla trailer. We know that's coming out. Shazam trailer. We know that's coming out. Actually, Shazam looks pretty cool. So that was really it. in terms of like the movie news. It was kind of like strange. There was no Marvel panel, there was no Star Wars panel or anything. You know, they had their Han Solo movie come out. There wasn't any surprise screenings of a movie down the street or anything like that they usually have. You know what I mean? There wasn't anything like that. There was less cosplay. I mean, this is just my eyes. There seemed to be like half of the cosplay, if not less than half. There seemed to be less cosplay. Now, that also could be because if you didn't have a pass, they didn't let you near the convention center, which I'm a fan of, by the way, because that keeps the riffraff out, and it means that you can get in and out without getting trampled on. Because otherwise, in past years, you can walk literally up to the front doors if you didn't have a pass. You just couldn't get in. Now you can't get near the front doors if you don't have a pass.
Yeah, so if you've never been to Comic-Con, the trolley runs right up to basically the front, and then there's a street where the buses come in, and you can't approach. Basically, the trolley line is the cutoff line. If you don't have a badge, you can't approach the convention center from there.
On the sides, the cutoffs are like a block on each side to like the last hotel.
It's as you cross from the hotels, they stop you. I think in terms of the lack of announcements and things like that, I think it's just timing. I don't think that was on purpose. I just think there wasn't a whole lot to announce. Marvel is basically gagged until it gets close to. You can't say much of anything until after Infinity War, or whatever Part 2 is called.
Sure, Endgame. That they announced it probably be Endgame.
Oh, did they? Okay.
Just like Highlander Endgame in that tradition.
Oh yeah, good.
Probably same
Bodes
quality
well.
movies. Bodes well. I drove 45 minutes to see Highlander Endgame in the theater. Very disappointed.
I'm so sorry. They can't say much until then, and.
Or until the deal goes through officially. I mean, it's approved, but the deal has to go through, signed, delivered with Fox.
Signed, sealed, delivered.
And then they announce Fantastic Four, my head explodes. I mean, that's basically how it's going to happen.
And then, Star Wars is over a year off, right?
A year and a half.
Yeah, so just not a whole lot to say.
Yeah,
I saw tons of cosplay, but I think part of it was, you're right. I just think it had to do. Well, no, you're right. Vani said she saw less cosplay.
I saw less,
year. But I saw more on 5th this year. So I think part of it was
downtown.
Yeah, so I mean, in general, there was quite a bit, but I think you're right. I think in the convention hall, there wasn't as much.
Usually you see like 5 or 6 Poison Ivy, or a few years ago, there was like a ton of Poison Ivy. There was like 20 of them. I saw maybe one. I saw one Wonder Woman. I saw no Storms. There would be years I'd see like 5 or 6 Storms every year, and I didn't see that. So I was just looking like, oh, okay. You always see the guy in the Silver Surfer paint. That guy who's ripped with, God bless him. But it just seemed like there was less.
Well, with Comic-Con, I know some people who cosplay, and I should probably ask them. Well, Lane, my coworker, cosplays, and I think for her, as she puts it, is there's so many other conventions if you want to go cosplay, that aren't nearly as. Comic-Con's just a tough place to do it.
Sure.
Because it's so crowded and it's so packed.
Yeah, you're always bumping into people. It didn't seem like there was as much bumping, at least on Saturday's usually the busiest day. Usually when you're in the middle near the Marvel and DC stuff, you can't move. Especially when there's people that are signing autographs. People just stop and just fucking
I walked in Saturday, got short of breath, and was like, I don't know how I'm gonna make it through this. It was still bad on Saturday for me.
And as another aside for that, there were far less trade paperbacks than there were in previous years. So there was one whole booth that always had trade paperbacks. Whenever Stan Lee would sign and show up there or whatever, they had no trade paperbacks this year. They just had newer comics. And then the other people that had them had less. So a lot less of the fun digging. I bought a couple. I looked for... Frank, you should have got Dr. Fate like 8 years ago, where every year in a row. It's out of print. I couldn't find it. And it's like $90 on Amazon. I told you. I don't know what you're waiting for. It was like 40% off every year. Torpedo Comics didn't have it. So I was looking for Frank for Dr. Fate for the Golden Age. And then I looked around for Amazing Fantasy 15, which is really the only expensive old comic that I wish to have, which is 1962, the first appearance of Spider-Man before Amazing Spidey #1, which actually isn't worth that much in comparison. Not at all. So Amazing Fantasy 15 goes up in value seemingly about 30% every year. And the reason why it's on my list is because I was this close to buying it on eBay back in 2008 or so, before I decided to move out here. And back then, a 3.5 condition, which is like, yeah, good plus, costs like only like $3,000, $4,000, $4,000. That's like 10 years ago, 11 years ago. Now that 3.5 is worth, in Pat's finger air quotes, about, you know, $25,000, $22,000. So how does it go up that much every year? Well, I don't know, because I don't follow comic price trends. I just know that when a movie comes out, people want it, they buy it. But I discovered something interesting over the weekend, which now, you know, this happens with video games, but with comic books, I think it's much more visible because there's a lot less of these rare comics versus rare games. But there was about 6 or 7 Amazing Fantasy 15s throughout the comic section, which is like 15% of the Comic-Con floor. It's not a huge amount. 6 or 7, ranging from, one was like a 2.5, there was a 3, 3.5, 4, and then there was like a gorgeous 5.5 there that they wanted like $52,000 for or whatever. So I was looking for the 3.0 range, maybe 3.5, maybe 4.0 if I was lucky and felt like blowing more Pat cash than I really have. So I priced them all out between different dealers, and no one was buying them the whole weekend, which was interesting. So it's like the Earthbound thing. Because while Amazing Fantasy 15 is hard to find, it's not the rarest old vintage comic by a long shot. It's not. There's still a lot of them out there, relatively speaking. But I think one had sold throughout the weekend, and then I found out at the end of the weekend, a booth that had 2 of them for sale, the proprietor there bought 2 more that weekend. So I talked to him about it. This was like Sunday afternoon at like 3, so it's wrapping up. And he straight up says, well, yeah, I own 10 of these Amazing Fantasy 15s. And I straight up said, what do you do with them? He didn't even sugarcoat. He said, yeah, I'm hoarding them. He used the hoard word. He said, the H word. He said, I'm hoarding them. And then he had a younger guy, a nice guy I spoke to for about 20 minutes about, you know, comic book prices versus like video game prices and what's going on in that market, trying to educate him and show that, hey, I know a little bit about this stuff. I showed him a certain NES guidebook I had on me. He liked it. And just comparing the ins and outs of the collecting hobbies. But the younger guy goes, the old guy, oh, what do you even says, like, yeah, what do you feel like in the future? What do you do with them? Yeah, maybe I'll trade all 10 in for like a 9.0 or something like that. It's just like, okay, sure. So then I got to thinking about, and this is going to come up later with the pinball machines, about what happens when all these guys have all these old comics. And I found out that about 10, 11 years ago when the housing crash happened, people that were investing in real estate before, I was told, started buying up comic books. So if you want to look at the prices historically, they probably start shifting around 2008, really sliding up a lot. That would make a lot of sense. People with a lot of money getting into it, older people. So I don't have to wait 30 years till someone's dead or a bunch of people are dead for these Fantasy 15s come back on the market and the price just comes lower and lower. Because I think at this point, it's almost like what would happen with Steam events where they were just being traded and sold between sellers. And people out in the marketplace actually wanted one were priced out, and we're not the ones dictating the prices as much as people just thinking, how much more can I make? Because I was hearing stories that people are buying Amazing Fantasy 15s and flipping them even within a day just to make whatever, a couple thousand on them. Oh, it's $2,000, whatever. I bought it for 20, I'll sell it for 22. I made some money.
Yeah, and then $2,000.
But if that constantly happens between the seller community, that's a huge artificial inflation on the price.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm kind of depressed about that.
Yeah, no, it sucks.
It sucks.
But it's also not surprising. Also, you have to look at I think the resurgence in comics in general probably happened around 2008 too. I mean, you look at when Comic-Con started to get huge again, and granted, a lot of that was due to pop culture and things like that, but that's...
MCU helped for sure.
Yeah, the Marvel comic, the MCU definitely helped. Comic-Con became a thing that you couldn't get into around, 2008, 2009, 2010.
I would say it started to get really difficult. 2008 was my first one. Once you get to like 2011, then it's like, okay, now it's getting tough to get a ticket.
So you're seeing a popularity surge in all things comic and pop culture related around that time.
Sure. Walking Dead, things like that, all just blow up at the same time. The Hobbit movies get announced again, things like that, right? Around that time? Yeah, 2000. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff that hit. Harry Potter, things like that, all hit at the same time. And all that stuff's gone now you think about it, even though Amazon's doing their $1 billion Lord of the Rings series. That's going to be interesting. So, speaking of series, Ian, pre-orders for a certain SNES guidebook are going to be up on ultimatesnes.com. So it's
really?
It's the pre. You're excited. So it's the pre-Kickstarter.
Type.
Pre-Kickstarter pre-orders. So it's the same style book. There's going to be 2 available covers for now. You're going to have the North American version. Sign up right now, but by the time they're listening to it, it is, Ian, so don't be shocked. But there's going to be a PAL version cover and a North American cover for our European friends.
Oh, this website is great.
Thanks, Ian.
I like it.
I just said it's not going to be up till the
You
time they
should
listen to it.
visit too.
And I'll give you a couple bucks off because early adopters. So ultimatesnes.com. It's going to kickstart in the fall, though, if you want to wait for the official Kickstarter for that. All right, Ian.
Such design.
Ian, you know, the No Man's Sky has been a topic on this podcast for a few different times and
Yay!
various reasons, and people went after you for not understanding what was going on. And
No, I did understand what was going on. They just didn't like the fact that I liked the game.
that you still like, even though it was semi-falsely advertised beforehand.
Well, yeah.
But now, Ian, there's been a few different major updates, and now the game is in a totally different spot than when it was first released. Like, what was that, 2 years ago?
2 years. Almost 2 years ago, exactly. It was released early October in 2016.
Jesus, that seems like a lifetime ago.
Yep.
That's when a certain NES Guidebook came out.
Well, hello.
That's almost like how you mark time now for me in my life.
Yeah, it's weird. So, No Man's Sky is a game created by Hello Games, a developer located in the UK, and it's a space exploration game, essentially. Came out 2 years ago, was hyped heavily in its lead up as
Sony backed it. They're like,
Yes.
this is going to be our big PS4 game.
Sony backed it. It was essentially being created by an indie studio. The team was no larger than 20 individuals at its highest point. They had the head of the game, the head of development, Sean Murray, was very enthusiastic about it. Had a lot of things that he wanted to put in the game, and the basic idea was you had this universe that was almost infinite. In reality, it's about 18 quintillion planets that there are somewhere in this galaxy that No Man's Sky created.
Procedurally generated.
And the idea of the game was you could fly around basically seamlessly within a star system. You could warp to other star systems. And the idea was discovery. You could land, scan various plants, flora, fauna that would show up, name them. Those would be procedurally generated. A lot of times they would look different. And even if they didn't look entirely different than something else you'd see before, they would have different stats, perhaps contain different elements for mining. Different little things in their biology and their makeup. The previews that were shown for No Man's Sky were not exactly what was delivered. It showed, giant beasts that,
Brontosaurus-sized beasts.
Yeah, brontosaurus-sized beasts.
Graphic style was totally different.
Ringed planets, things of that nature that weren't in the final product.
And more. We're probably missing a bunch of stuff like being able to pilot freighters and stuff. Was that, yeah, things like that.
Well, a lot of things were inferred too, just from what was in the video.
So there was a massive disappointment with this game, and then what was it? The coverage within a month or two, 90% of the fan base had abandoned it. Something massive like that, where people were done with it already.
So I'd been looking forward to the game for quite some time, and had put myself on media blackout and had somehow missed most of these promises. I got the game. I enjoyed it. It was relaxing. Just flying around to the different planets, checking them out, seeing what was going to be on them. The fauna was a bit disappointing. Some of them would definitely look like weird Lego stuff pieced together.
Yeah.
Not all of it was as bad as they made it out to be. Certainly the stuff that you would see online was picked specifically to look bad. We know how the internet works. They want the worst to look as bad as possible when people are complaining about it. So no, not everything looked exactly as shitty as it was shown. But it was definitely not what was promised. But the games definitely still had a fairly solid foundation. And there were things that I enjoyed about it and other people liked about it. There was a feeling of loneliness. There was also a feeling of calm. And the basic engine and the basic idea was solid. So Hello Games kind of disappeared. But they never stopped working on the game. They just stayed out of the media spotlight and they kept working on it. and they did a number of expansions. One was the Foundation expansion, which allowed base building.
Yeah.
If you could find little bases on the planets, and with the Foundation expansion, it allowed you to claim these bases and then start building off on them. And there were other expansions as well that added vehicles, and added little graphical upgrades and things like this. And it all culminated in, over the year, they added a bunch of they did a bunch of like alternate reality games in the outside world that, you know, the fan base got caught up in, because there was a fan base that grew and continued to play over those 2 years. And it all culminated in what was called No Man's Sky Next, which was the big update that was released this past Tuesday.
1.5.
Yep.
So this to many people is the promise finally delivered 2 years later, what they thought this game was probably going to be like, or wanted it to be like.
So this is huge, and the response to it has been pretty much nothing but positive.
So what do we have in this update, Ian? That's really important.
Everything.
Everything.
Yeah, you have freighters that you can pilot.
Yay!
So you can have up to 4 ships in them at once. You have mission boards everywhere. You have this. I mean,
Real multiplayer, right?
Well, I'll get to it. So yeah. So I don't know where some of these enhancements may have come in, because I didn't play much of the expansions after Foundation, which was base building.
Okay.
So let's just go from what's new since vanilla, if you were one of those people who fell off. Base building, improved space combat, multiplayer.
That's huge. That one alone.
Warp gates. So you can easily transfer back to previous star systems that you've visited without needing to actually pilot back to them.
Okay.
The warp gates will let you jump to various bases you're building. Infinite base building, meaning you don't need to find a base before you can build a base. You can just drop a base computer and start building a base computer.
Character customizer.
Character customization. You can play in third person now in both outside the ship and in the ship.
Okay.
Enhanced photo mode, which is great, but not that important. New weapons. So there's also a mining beam. There's also a terraforming beam, so you can now terraform areas on the planets.
Missions and structure. It's like, according to this, there's more structure at the beginning of the game.
Oh, yeah, there's more structure at the beginning of the game, so there's a whole new tutorial.
More mission types.
There's a ton more mission types. You can...
Wow. Archaeology mission type. That's pretty cool.
You can...
Freighter attack, feeding.
Farming.
Photography mission. Defense.
Photography, farming. Freighter commanding. You can now add frigates to your freighters and send them out on missions. I mean, the difference is night and day. I mean,
graphical enhancements.
It's essentially a... If you played the first one and then are jumping into this, it's... 1.5 makes sense. It's like when someone calls a game, well, it's not exactly a sequel, but it's a 1.5. That's what this is.
This is a true 1.5.
This is almost a sequel. If you did not play the incremental upgrades, this is almost a sequel. And even people who played the upgrades are like, no, this is almost a sequel. They regenerated the entire galaxy when Next started.
Vast oceans of visually improved bodies of water with new continental terrain types.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I'm just scrolling through the 1.5.
Yeah.
All the new stuff. This is holy shit.
Underwater.
Overhauled the UI.
Yeah, the UI is a lot better. You can now, there's like quick access to all sorts of shit.
Players with freighters can summon any of their personal starship fleet at any time.
Yep.
Maintenance and repair interactions. Visual overhaul.
Yeah, I can
Space Station Marketplace.
Oh yeah, the space. If Jesus Christ,
that wasn't there before.
Well, there was like a simple trade center, but now you can dock at space stations, and there's alien marketplaces. There's way more aliens on the space stations.
You can buy some stuff.
There's there's a new
resources.
There's a new currency that you get in different ways than just your money for blueprints and stuff like that.
Find and excavate buried ruins with a terrain manipulator to unearth locked ancient treasures. So it's more chase items, things like that.
So instead of just like getting instead of just like finding, elements and stuff on the ground, it'll like sometimes point you.
You can go underground.
Well, there's cave systems, but it'll also like you can scan and it'll point things underground, and then you use your excavator beam to like dig out and find like treasure buried underground.
Were there mines before in previous releases or no?
There were cave systems, but they're a lot more. They're way more complicated now.
Looks like creature movements are now more natural, intelligent. AI is improved.
Oh, the creatures look a lot better, a lot cooler.
Holy shit! So
When you scan, you get so much more information out of what you scan now. Tells you what the secondary and it tells you like it's nuts.
Real-time missions, scheduled missions, multiplayer missions, overhaul tutorial, new mission types, envoy mission, guild envoy missions. Now they have guilds.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I don't even. I'm not even part of a guild yet.
Players can own multiple bases, hundreds of new base parts. Joint base building. That's a cool idea.
Oh,
so you work with a partner to build a base?
Yeah. My buddy and I were. We found a planet and built a 2-story wooden shack the other day just for kicks for like an hour.
Crafting and resources.
Oh yeah, there's like refining of materials now.
Graphics and planet generations all improved. There's a laundry list. I mean, this is insane.
It's nuts.
Space stations and buildings, new space station marketplace, new style for stairs, teleporters different, and explorations, controls and combat.
I've put in close to 20 hours on it since last Tuesday.
Stability fixes. Okay.
So in a week, I've put almost 20 hours back in.
So if they came out with this game originally like this, with all this shit, this would have been game of the year probably. Like,
we would have
running away.
It's still a very particular type of game. There's almost no action. I mean, you can definitely
space combat though, right?
You can gear it towards that if you want. But I mean, I try to stay out of combat. Yes, you can definitely, if you want to, you can play mostly space combat if you want, or you can play mostly just fucking around.
Can you be like a space pirate? You can try to rip people off and blow them up.
I haven't figured out how to yet, but you can totally take on other frigates and freighters and stuff like that and loot them. But yeah, I just haven't done it.
Okay, so you can do that.
Yeah.
So you can still play how you want. You can just farm out somewhere with your crew and just raise, I don't know, can you like raise fruits and veggies or something? I don't know.
There is farming. I haven't done any farming yet.
So now they're to the point where, again, this is what people wanted originally. Maybe not to this extent, but they wanted a lot of these foundational pieces to be there. Now they're there. So 2 years later, will people go back and buy this fresh? And they're at least going to recapture the people, hopefully, that abandoned it 2 years ago. They're like, what the hell? This isn't what I wanted. But I wonder if they can do a fresh sort of repush to get new people to buy. So there's a lot of time and resources going into basically crafting what is like a semi-sequel at this point.
It's been one of the top selling games on Steam for the past 3 weeks.
Okay.
They released it on Xbox One. I don't know how it's doing on Xbox One because it's the first release on Xbox One. They're charging almost full price for it. I think it's like $50.
But on Steam, how much is it on Steam?
It's I think
save 50% off. So they're selling this.
They're selling it on Steam. I think it's like 30. I think it's 25 or 30, which is insane for what you get.
And they've already announced update 1.51 and 1.52.
Oh, those are already out. Those are bug fixes.
Little bug fixes.
But they announced that they're
it's $30 on Steam, so it's half price.
And then it's $30 digitally on PS4 right now
until August 6th.
But used copies at like Luna, $20, and at I think GameStop right now is even doing used copies, and I think for a while they were doing new copies at $20 too.
I thought I saw I think Destin from IGN. I thought he tweeted something saying that it was on clearance or on sale at Walmart for like 10. They have a bunch laying around that.
Yeah.
So if you want to get it in for cheap on the console, it's much easier.
Yeah, and this
like $20,
update is free. So if you go find a copy of this for $10, you get this game for you're in. I mean, that's it.
For us PC folks, you have until August 6th to get it for $30, which probably still seems like a good deal because now it's fulfilling the promise that a lot of us were like, okay, this is going to be the game that we'll never get away from. Like you might never see Ian again. This might be it.
Like I said, 20 hours in the past week I've already put back into this. So it's wonderful to see. It's great if you have a mind for role playing too, because the stories really kind of write themselves in your head.
Sure.
It was fun. I took off the other day on my off a planet and landed in. I took off to a new star system, and there was a distress call, and I went, took out the space pirates that were attacking, and I was told to, come land in that freighter. And I did, and the pilot wanted nothing to do with, and this is actually what happened. The pilot told me that he decided he wanted nothing to do with piloting a freighter anymore and would prefer to just live a life of leisure as a second command, and gave me the freighter. So freighters...
This was an NPC or a human?
NPC.
Okay.
So freighters that normally cost a shitload, I got a freighter for free.
You're a captain of a freighter now.
I'm a captain of a freighter.
You have a crew yet? You have a crew?
Yeah, it's the little frogmen.
Little frogmen.
Gek, I think is what they're called. Yeah, because he didn't want the stress anymore. He was too stressed out.
Did it stress you taking on that responsibility in that role?
No, it's pretty nice.
It's pretty nice.
Pretty nice.
You sit in your chair.
I have a 6-ship garage, but I only have 1 ship.
Well, is it cross-play between console and
No,
PC? Damn it! I could have shacked up with Ian's freighter.
There's no crossplay, but how the multiplayer works is great. So when you start, you can either go into your game, which loads your last save, or you can join someone else's game, which basically just dumps you in their star system, whatever star system they're exploring, and it shows you where they are. And you can talk if you want, or you can just fly up to them. But once you're in their system, that's usually, however far away from where you were, where you start. So, but that gives you a jump point to that. So by playing with more people, it's shooting you all over the system. So the more people you play with, the more places you can pop around to in the universe via your warp gates. So it helps you cover distance real quick.
Nice.
Yeah.
Very cool. And we'll see who gets to the middle of the galaxy. That was the secret thing. I don't know what that means.
I think people have already probably done that. I can't focus on a main storyline in the game. I'm just doing too much shit. So anyways, it's great.
So it's cool. I'm glad that Sean Murray, he apologized, looked like, for not having this game originally where it was supposed to come out, but his little plucky team has worked on it, and now it's something that, Ian's going to become addicted to. You never see him again.
They're updating it weekly with new missions from here on out.
And there you go.
Yep.
Let's talk about the Switch Joy-Con, left Joy-Cons being produced by Hori, the name you can trust. These are scheduled to come out locally here in September. I believe they came out in Japan first.
Yes.
But I think because we were arguing whether or not we actually talked about it in the podcast, where I don't remember.
We might not have. I know we looked at the article, though.
We didn't get past the Pat and Ian filter, pre-podcast filter. But now, coming in September, these are officially licensed, obviously. Left Joy-Cons for handheld mode only that have a real D-pad, a real directional connected pad, not this bullshit 4 circular button thing that makes it impossible to play Sly Spy, for example. So they're going to retail for $25. You're going to have 2 types to choose from, a reddish Super Mario one and a darkish with gold little trim Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild version. So what to know about this is, obviously, I have not touched the D-pad. I would assume the D-pad is not too rough or too mushy, and that it's a functional D-pad. It looks like a traditional D-pad. It's not a circle around it. It's a D-pad that you can rock back and forth. So there's going to be no Bluetooth feature on this, no gyro sensor, no HD rumble, okay, no battery, and no SR buttons. One's on the top. So
there's no buttons either?
No, you're just getting the D-pad, it looks like, and you're getting a single trigger on the top, but I guess not the ones behind. Right?
Weird.
So this is a budget solution to wanting a D-pad, right?
Right.
But I guess you're going to have to decide before you buy this, what games will this be useful for? Obviously, arcade-style games, old platformer games,
right?
Nintendo, Super Nintendo. But if you wanted to play something like Breath of the Wild or something newer, you might need those extra buttons behind. I don't know. You might want the rumble for a game like that, where you can detect those little, what the hell, those things you find in Breath of the Wild that are all over the place.
The Korok seeds.
Yeah, things like that. I played the game. I know. I put 25 hours in the Breath of the Wild before I get back to the rest of my life. But so on the surface, I think this is a fine idea as long as they're really clear about what this is for. In handheld mode only, to me, is a semi-killer, but for most people, they only play in handheld mode so they're not going to care. But for me, not having the HD rumble and the extra buttons and the gyro sensor, not really. I don't give a shit about that as much. But to me, that's where it's gonna not be as good. I need the Bluetooth. I would think, because there'll be times I want to even just put it out in front of me and just step back in my couch and have it not be right in front of my face and just hold it in my hands. And so this is a good bridge to that point where we're probably going to get to where we're going to get hopefully an official left Joy-Con that has everything the original Nintendo one has, but has a real D-pad. I'm hoping we get to that point, because I'll be in. If that's a $50, $60 item just for one, I will buy that with all the functions and a real D-pad. I would do that.
Yeah, so would I. I'm not real into this half measure here. I would totally pay full price for a fully featured one with a D-pad. My problem is, for many games, I am okay with using the buttons. For many, I'm okay with it. The 4 circle buttons. There are a few that I'm not, and for those I would like a D-pad, and I have no real good options. The D-pad on the Pro controller sucks.
It does?
Yeah, it's fucking awful.
What does that cost? $70 for that?
Yeah, I mean, it's a good controller for everything. I mean, there is.
But that'd be the only reason I would buy that thing. Would be for that.
It's great for the modern style games that use the analogs and stuff like that. So very few modern games use a D-pad for anything that requires precision. But yeah, there's the biggest flaw with the Switch right now is there's almost nothing that really. There's really no good control method for 2D games.
Or arcade style games. Yeah.
Because while the circle pad is fine for me or the whatever you want to call it, the control pad with the 4 circles is fine for me for certain things. It works for puzzle games and stuff like that. That works fine.
Too loose for platformers. Too loose for arcade games.
If they were just squeezed together a little bit more, it would be fine. Because I was always fine with the Sony D-pad, which is 4 segmented buttons as well. But
I'm talking about the actual the joystick being too loose to use.
Oh, sure, yeah.
It's not precise enough.
Right.
For digital.
It's rough. Yeah, the control,
both options stink.
The control situation is not ideal for a lot of 2D platformers.
I understand that Nintendo want to sell their extra controllers, but I think they were short-sighted and not just putting a regular D-pad on it.
Well, I mean, there has to be another reason, because for them to not have done it, I don't think it was to sell additional controllers.
It's the first time they didn't put a D-pad on one of their systems by default.
Yeah, but I mean,
that's insane.
That it's not to sell additional controllers, because they know people would use this in handheld mode. I don't know why they didn't.
No, I'm talking about Nintendo not doing it.
Yeah, I don't know why they didn't. It wouldn't be to. I'm saying it doesn't make sense to sell additional controllers because they didn't provide an additional controller to sell.
Well, the Pro they did. That's what I mean.
I mean, for handheld.
For handheld, yes. Like, I was surprised it didn't come out yet. I think we're going to get to that point. I always said about doing like an NES-style Joy-Con or Super Nintendo Joy-Con. It's easy to do that. I think we're going to get to that point once they realize it. What did I just see? What did you see? They've already sold almost 2 million more NES classics after they re-released it.
Really?
Which is about the amount they almost sold when they first came out with it. So there's going to be a market there for this. Nintendo should be able to do this on their own, unless they don't want to bother with it. But I don't know. Maybe they don't want to feel like relying on their old D-pad anymore. They wanted to move on. But it's a reason why it's the predominant style controller method after 1985. There's a reason why everyone was trying to get their claws on it and had to come up with half measures, because Nintendo patented it for so long that the Genesis one was different, and the TurboGrafx one was not exactly the same. So, okay. I'm probably going to buy one of these, but not be satisfied, like what we said, because you have to have it docked. And by the way, there was they're working on a fix, because right now, at least the one in Japan, if you leave it in your Switch and it's in sleep mode, it drains the battery of your Switch. It's constantly drawing power, that left Joy-Con. So that's a bad thing, but they're working on it, I think, for the US.
In the first article we were looking at, it actually says that it's been officially confirmed that the fix will be in place before they're released here in September.
So that's good, because that would be really bad. Say you're on the plane, right, and you fall asleep, and you put in sleep mode on your, and then you wake up and you can no longer play your game because your Switch is dead, or because it's drawing that power because it has no internal battery in order to survive on its own.
This sounds like the most begrudging $25 you could ever get
this
someone
is
to spend. I
understand
just not
why
doing
though.
it.
I understand why though, because you can buy two regular Joy-Cons licensed for like $60 new, right?
I think it's 70.
So if they only did $50 for one, people would be like, "What the fuck? It's not a Nintendo first party item. What am I doing?" But all they got to do is put a battery in there and put the fucking HD rumble. How much? I don't know how much that would cost per unit, but that's all I would need to be satisfied. Even the extra buttons, I probably wouldn't care as much about in the back because I don't know how many games would use those extra buttons. But all right,
Fortnite.
That Fortnite life. So Ian, Movie Pass has been something that I've heard, through the grapevine the past few years from people saying, "Oh, I either have it or I use it, or you should get it, or you should look." Usually, Pat, you should look into it. You like movies, Hey, Pat, it's like whatever, $10 a month. You can watch 10 movies a month. And the movies, I'm like, "Oh, okay, that sounds like too good to be true." But I'll look into that. But I was like, "Oh, at most I'll probably see like 2 movies a month. Whatever. It's not worth it. There'll be some months I won't be using it." So I never did it. But I probably should have, because now Movie Pass is in huge trouble. So Movie Pass is a subscription service that modeled itself almost like a Netflix or a Hulu for $10 a month. They went for that number. I think originally it was more like 20 or 30, and they kept cutting it down, which probably was to their detriment. I'll get into why.
Yeah.
So what it does is it allows you to go on their app, go online, find a movie theater showing a movie anytime, and you buy a ticket through Movie Pass, but you already paid $10 a month. You go to the movies and you see the movies. And that sounds like that'd be an awesome thing that if I took advantage of, it would have been cool. I probably should have.
Yeah, there's some restrictions, like you couldn't see more than one a day.
At the same theater, or the same movie at the same theaters, just stuff like
Couldn't
that.
see more than one a day, and I think you could only see the one, a movie once or something like that. But you could see, one movie a day, and each movie once or something like that. Maybe it was per theater.
I think it was per theater. You couldn't see the same movie in the same theater.
Oh, okay.
But 10 movies a month for $10, in theory, that would cost you, let's just say the average price now is $14-15 for a ticket, $150 versus $10. So what happened was, on Thursday, people were getting locked out of the new Mission Impossible movie, which has gotten rave reviews again because Tom Cruise is a maniac that does his own stunts still in his mid-50s, and they're quality movies. After 3 on, they're good movies. I still have to see 5. I DVR'd 5. Wow, the 6th one. But people were getting locked out, and they're like, "Why can't we see Mission Impossible?" And it's because Movie Pass ran out of money to fulfill ticket sales. So you're going to ask yourself, what do you mean fulfill ticket sales? What does that mean? So this would have been great for me to look into their actual business model before, because I had no idea what their business model was until I'm seeing articles about them running out of money. They did float a $5 million loan or $6 million loan just to get through ticket sales for the weekend.
Business model is unfortunately simple. It's pay full price for the tickets that people use.
Or close to it. They probably got some deal, but their model was this. This is okay. First, I'm going to tell you what I thought their model was.
Okay, what did you think it was?
I thought their model was something like a Priceline, where hotels always have extra rooms, so they budget that to a website to sell at a discount rate, because if no one is in those rooms, the hotels want to get whatever money they can for those extra rooms. If no one's in those rooms, they're losing money, regardless of what they sell them for, whether it's $10, $20, or $100.
Yeah.
It pays to fill those rooms up.
Sure.
As long as they make their costs back. So I thought, erroneously, that Movie Pass had a similar deal with theaters where, say movie theaters, a Tuesday, Wednesday showings, they'll block off like 20 seats because they're not going to sell those seats anyway, no matter what. So we're going to have those reserved through a special discounted deal through Movie Pass, right? That to me would be like a smart business model.
Right.
Because the movie theater's perspective is, well, we're not going to sell those seats anyway. But we're going to get people in the door and they'll buy concessions. And we'll make money that way, which is what they've been doing with Movie Pass. Movie theaters have been making tons more money through concessions because people are going 10 times a month and buying the $8 popcorns at $4 drinks. So that's what I thought the business model was. But it wasn't, Ian. What their business model is that through Movie Pass, they probably got some discount through the chain.
It says right here, Movie Pass has to pay the full ticket price for all movies its subscribers go see.
Okay. Maybe they worked out a bulk deal to make a few dollars up. So that means if I use Movie Pass and said I want to see Infinity War at Saturday at 10 p.m., which will typically be like a $14, $15 ticket, Movie Pass would pay the movie theater that retail value, face value of that ticket.
Yep.
I want you... Okay. That was their business model. So the more people that signed up for this, the more deadly it was to their business because they're losing money at a more rapid rate the more people that use this.
I mean, you assume that a movie ticket is, let's say, $12 at peak time. You're paying $10 a month. You go once, they've lost money.
They've lost money
They're
already.
hoping that people do this and not use it. But with a deal that good,
It's too good.
You're not gonna sign up for that and go, no, I'm not gonna use that. That's one of those things you sign up for and you're like, I don't want to pay $12 for a ticket. $10. You have to sign up for a 3-month commitment. So what they're hoping for is that you use it once and then forget about it and never use it again.
Which is a gigantic gamble and gambit, especially around the movies now coming out in the summer where there's superhero movies every week. And even if you're a casual moviegoer, you're going to see the superhero movies. And but now you're going to see movies that you might not have wanted to see. Like, oh, I'll see this drama. I'll see The Purge, the first Purge. I wouldn't normally see it, but it's free now for me to see it.
Yeah.
It's a free movie night or a free date night, basically.
It's
Why
the
not?
summer. We live in stressful times. People like to save money. People are going to take advantage of this.
But it's not an advantage, though, if that's what their business model is. So that's what I mean. People are like, well, what did you expect? But it's... I understand.
I mean, well, they're going to take advantage of what they have.
So you're probably asking yourselves, hey, Pat, how did they get investors on board for this? How do they have a stock that was worth I think the stock was worth $30 last year. Now it's worth spit at this point. So their plan was to capture people's demographics and buying patterns, what movies they went to, where they were, and sell people's data to other people. So their huge gambit was that the data...
Marketing, essentially.
Yeah, the data and marketing information we're going to be selling is worth more than the millions and millions of dollars we are losing every month because we have to pay people. We're basically paying people to go to the movie theater. We're paying people to go to the movies for free, in essence, what they've been doing. It's miraculous that this existed to this point in time, and it's miraculous that they got any investments to begin with this being their business model. Like, if this was on Shark Tank, they wouldn't have gotten through the front door. It would have been like, you guys are out of your minds. So, because the more popular this was, it hastened the death of the company as more people signed up for it.
So let's just get to what's great about what's going on with it now. So on Monday,
It's insane.
was this yesterday Monday?
Yeah,
it was. They announced that MoviePass is now saying that upcoming big releases you will not be able to get tickets for on MoviePass, which is only going to cause the problems for MoviePass to get bigger.
But it's going to save the company money because it prevents them from paying out more tickets.
You're right.
It's actually the only thing they could have done.
It's the only thing they could do, but it's going to make people
Give up the app.
give up the app.
But that's actually doesn't matter.
But where's the trade-off? I mean, are they going to find a sweet spot or what's going to happen? So Christopher Robin and the Meg will not be available to subscribers.
Christopher Robin.
And it looks like Mission Impossible will continue to be shut out as well.
And the other thing they had surge pricing, which was like getting the terms from like Uber when there's a lot of people in demand. They would charge you like whatever, $3, $4, $5, $6 to get your ticket. People were complaining about that, but that was probably the only thing that probably could have, if they did that from the start, saying, oh, the Blockbuster, you're only paying $6 for instead of paying 12 or 14 bucks. I'd be like, well, I'm still getting a great deal. I'm paying half price. I'm paying $10 a month. I'm still saving dozens of dollars a month doing this. But they didn't do that till recently, it sounds like, more and more. So people were pissed, like, oh, I paid $10. Why am I paying $5 extra? It's to keep the app alive so it doesn't go out of business. Which I understand it's not your fault if you're complaining about that. But you got to look at it from, would you want this to survive in some capacity or be gone forever? Because that's your choices.
Yeah, there needs to be a huge restructuring, and it needs to be looked at as a, some sort of bargain program. Yeah, you can still get your free tickets, and I'm sure there'll be tons of free movies you can go see. The less popular ones, but look at it as a $10 per month premium service if you go to a shitload of movies, and look at it as maybe, you're going to be paying $3 for this movie ticket or $2 for this movie ticket, or if you're going to go see that Blockbuster, it's going to be $6
or $8. You're
right.
Still saving money.
You're still saving money, and but then it's really, and then less people will use it, which is fine. But it's going to be for people who do go to the movies. I say it's one of those things for people who go to movies probably 3 times a month.
Sure.
And there are people who go to movies way more than that. The owner of the diner that I go to all the time for breakfast, he goes to movies every weekend. Every weekend.
So he was on this probably.
Probably, yeah, without fail. Yeah, he was on it before I even knew what it was, before people were even talking about it. He's like, oh, I got this crazy thing. And I'm like, no, that can't possibly exist. And he's showing Bonnie and I, this was like, 6 months ago or whatever.
How is this a thing?
Yeah. And he's like, oh, it's great. But yeah, I mean, with his kids, with his wife, without his kids, without his wife, whatever, he goes and sees like 1 or 2 movies a week. So,
Sure.
That's the sort of thing where even in a restructuring of how it works, it would be beneficial to him and a lot of people like him.
Yeah, I think it turns out that this information isn't as valuable as what people thought before. Plus, if you want to talk about it, the sites that are selling the tickets like Fandango or MovieTickets.com, they have that information from online sales already.
Right.
And the movie theaters have that information.
Exactly.
From people buying the tickets online. That gets transferred to who's buying it. They have it in the kiosk. They know who's swiping the credit cards for what movies. So everyone already has this information. So I don't know how
They thought
that what they were doing was going to be valuable in terms of their data from their user base. It doesn't make any sense. That information is already out there.
Also,
already.
I feel like that data would be tainted as well
because people are going to the movies more. And,
they're going to the movies more and they're being less picky about what they're seeing because
Sure.
it's not really with their money if you're
Sure.
getting to pick everything you want. If you're using something like MoviePass, you're already savvy enough to use technology and you're already probably doing all of your movie ticket buying online. So like you said, that data,
it's out there.
that data is more pure and it's more out there.
Yeah. So the good news from this, from the ashes of MoviePass, you have AMC releasing their version,
Which I hear is fairly decent.
It's $20 a month, which is totally reasonable.
Yes.
Still, if this was $30 a month, it was reasonable. $20 a month, you can see up to 3 movies a week. No one's seeing more than 12 movies a month. No one's doing that. So I don't want to hear, oh, this sucks. No, you're not. Sorry,
Yeah,
unless
not.
you're insane. Well, if I was homeless, I would get that. You just live in the movie theater all day, though. But anyway, so 3 movies every week, only AMC theaters, though, but there's a lot of AMC theaters. There's 2 within 15 minutes of us. And it accounts for IMAX, Dolby, real 3D, so it's there's no restrictions on that.
Yep, and you can, it doesn't matter what, you can see the same movie if you wanted to 3 times in one day. So basically, there's no restriction.
This is their
on the
version
week.
of the Priceline deal, because AMC's not losing money by giving away tickets for free. Because it's their theater.
Yeah, exactly.
They don't have to recoup the concessions will make up for it. They know on a Tuesday they're filling up 20 seats for that showing. So who cares if people come for free and buy, because they're making a movie off popcorn and candy anyway. That's how they make the most of their
Keeping
money.
it in house, and AMC's have
and they're good. And AMC's are good theaters by and large.
they're getting better.
Yeah,
they're getting better. They have bars and stuff now too. You make
they do have the
shitloads
bar
of money
at the Fashion Valley when they do have the
Yeah,
bars.
you make tons of money at the bars and stuff like that. So that's the way to do it. I think movie theaters kind of offering their own version of this is probably the smarter way to go.
Sure.
If the lot offered something like that,
Come on,
fuck it. Jesus.
we live there.
Christ.
They have a brunch on Sundays outside the theater.
I'd find a reason to go to the
Oh,
movies.
they do have like a club, directors or producers club.
Oh,
that
do
gives you
they?
discounts if you buy into it. They do. All right, we are proud to be working with Purple Asteroids as they present Aztec Samurai: The Puzzle. When a samurai in the 14th century is kidnapped and taken across the ocean that makes its way to the New World, it is just the start of his adventure. So this is a puzzle tile matching game. Help the samurai keep his sanity by completing 9 challenges in a multi-tile matching puzzle game with only a Daruma for help. It's easy to learn but difficult to master. With a limited amount of time and tile moves, thinking ahead is a must. We've tried it out, Ian.
Yes,
We're
we
matching
have.
around. It's pretty fun.
It is. You use your finger to slide a path on the tiles. It's not a match 3 tile matching game. It's presents you a screen with tiles, and you can take your finger and you link them together
For combos.
and create a path. And then when you let go, it vanishes all the tiles that match, and more tiles fall down. So you can use this to essentially, set yourself up for the next round of matching. There are poison tiles, which you definitely don't want to match at that point in time, and there's bonus tiles, the ones that you want to try to create a combo with at that moment.
The tiles themselves have an Aztec theme. They're colorful. They're very well designed. When you think of the tile setup for a high number combination, the game board can be wiped clean. That happened to me a couple times where I wasn't quick enough and it switched when I was in the middle of a combo. However, if you can win, then the samurai survives while his Daruma gets his eye. Fail, and it's the end of the story for both of them. Aztec Samurai is available now on the Apple App Store for both iPhones and iPads, and it's only 99 cents. 99 cents. Check it out, Aztec Samurai. Ian, you like to read, don't you?
I do.
Did you enjoy pop-up books as a child?
Yeah, I fucking love pop-up books. I had all sorts of the National Geographic pop-up books. Those were real good. So let's talk about this good one right here.
Well, I'll just say this is up your alley then, Ian. This Kickstarter.
It is. So there is a Sega Arcade pop-up history book coming out. It needed to have $52,498. That's oddly specific.
That's too specific for my liking, but okay. They thought it out.
I think it's because it's being done in the UK. I think it's a conversion from pounds.
It's a conversion from
pounds. Conversion from
They
pounds.
did some pat math.
And it's at 57,582 with 8 days left to go. So this is gonna get done. It's being done by Darren Wall. So Sega Pop-Up Arcade History is a pop-up book that is going to cover the
six cabinets.
well, five. It looks like the sixth one is
they hit the
probably
goal.
going to get added.
They hit the stretch goal.
6 cabinets. It's going to be Hang On, Space Harrier, Outrun. Where's the list? I lost it. Outrun, Thunderblade, and Afterburner.
So these
and
are all-
Power Drift is being added.
So these were all. If you never saw these gigantic machines in the arcade in the 80s, these were the like the environmental ones.
yeah, I think they called them Body Sensation or something like that cabinets. Body Sensation cabinets.
We've all probably played or seen the Hang On one. That's probably the most common one that I remember seeing.
Not this Hang On one. Really, the red Hang On one? This one right here?
I've seen the Hang On one. Maybe not that one then, but I did see.
Oh, the Super Hang On one
Super
is,
Hang-On.
the,
Now
is
I'm
the
thinking
one
the
we've
white
all
one?
seen. Yeah, the
Okay.
white one. Yeah,
Okay.
everyone's seen that. This red one, though, was actually at that San Diego video game museum thing at the Fleet Center when it was
Oh, I
in town.
missed that. Oh man.
By the time we saw it, it was all
So
broken down. But anyways,
I've seen the Outrun in person. I think once, maybe twice. I probably saw that Outrun for back in those old New Jersey auctions. I've seen that Outrun there. I've seen some of those back then. I think I've seen the Space Harrier once. I don't think I've ever seen the Thunderblade one in person.
we used to have
before.
that back in Buffalo.
Was that only were these only in Japan or no?
No, I've seen all of these here, except
not
for
seen
Power
Thunderblade.
Drift. Power Drift is the only one I've had.
I've seen Afterburner a ton. That's
Yeah.
when I've seen a ton. Afterburner. So these are all the gigantic ones. They usually be back in the day 75 cents or 50 cents. Oh, it's a lot of money back in the 80s.
Or a dollar,
for
yeah.
a machine. No, $1 was, remember the big 3D one that was like would move around and gyros? I forget what game that was.
Galaxy Force.
That's what it was.
Yeah.
That's the one that would be like $1 back then at Seaside. That was at Casino Pier. So okay. So this is a smaller book, but it's pop-up, showing you all the ins and outs, and it even has little joysticks on them. It's cute. It's adorable.
Yeah, so when you open it like an old pop-up book, the little cardboard sculpture pops up and comes to life, lays flat on the page. It looks awesome. For instance, it shows the regular Hang-On one, the red bike with the TV cabinet embedded in the front of it. It even has the little coin. Even has the little coin slot money. What the fuck can I say it? A little pedestal next to it where you put the goddamn coins. It's got that popping up out of the side as well.
Oh, okay. On
Yeah.
the Hang On when I see that.
Yeah, and it's got all the information, a little write-up on the game and the arcade cabinet. And yeah, this is awesome. So I think I'm definitely going to have
Embossed
to back
silver
this.
color, hardcover. Introduction and commentary by Keith Stewart. Yeah, it's adorable. Now, if you want to get down to
The
the
detail
value,
on this is
the
incredible.
detail's great.
too.
You're looking at a book that has less than 20 pages that you're paying. I know pop-up books though are more expensive because obviously there's more going into them.
Oh yeah, they're crazy expensive.
Yeah, it's about $46 for the book. So if you're a big arcade Sega person, this is a no-brainer though. You'd pick this up.
Sega Super Scalar stuff is my bread and butter. So yeah,
So you're thinking about this?
yeah, I'm definitely thinking about this.
You're definitely thinking about this.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of Sega book Kickstarters lately coming around.
Yep. Yeah, this I like the other Kickstarter that we covered, but this is something that I'd probably like.
This is from
more.
Read Only Memory. Okay, they've done a bunch of books in the past. All right. So check it out. You have until, when is this over? 8 days from now, so it's until about August 8th. You have until August 9th. You have to back this. Sega Arcade pop-up history. And speaking of arcades, Ian,
Bop-a-doo
this was an interesting little
thing.
piece of merchandising that
Merchandise.
kind of surprised me. In the past, home arcade units that were licensed have been few and far between. There's ones that you could buy at Walmart or Target that were like the Konami whatever 40 ones that were made. They look like garbage.
Yeah.
With like really cheap buttons and joysticks, and they were just generic license, but multi-cades.
Yeah.
So this is interesting. This is something that sort of bridges, I think, the gap of quality, I'm hoping, between the ones you would be able to find like at a Walmart before. What's the Walmart one called real quick? And buying a total reproduction. This is called Arcade1Up at Home Arcade. So what this is are 3/4 scale arcade machines. So they're not the full, like 6 foot tall, over 6 foot talls. These are, let's see,
4 feet.
almost 4 feet high, about 19 inches wide, which isn't that big, and 23 inches deep. So they're scaled down, 3/4. They're upright arcade machines, but being that they're smaller, you're going to probably have to sit down on them in order to play them comfortably or have a little stool.
I never thought. Is this roughly the size of a cabaret cab, or is this its own thing?
I think they're probably a little bit smaller than a cabaret. When I think about it. I can't remember the last time I played a cabaret, but cabarets, I think you can still stand up on. I think.
Yeah.
When you play a cabaret. So they're offering 5. They're basically multi-cades with, I'm guessing, an LCD or LED screen, but they're interesting. They're very interesting in that there's a different control scheme on a few of these based upon the set of games.
That's what I like about these. So, for instance, let's start with. We'll start with. Excuse me. We'll start with an easy one like Centipede. The Centipede one is a great example of why these are definitely more interesting than most multicades. So with most multicades, almost all of them are going to have Centipede on it. And you get to play Centipede with a fucking joystick, which is absolutely miserable. It's one of the worst things you can do with your time.
With your time.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, go ahead.
Might as well sit on a fence.
I mean, I'd say snorting gravel is a better use of your time than trying to play Centipede
All right, Ian.
with a freaking joystick. It's awful. So the Centipede one has Centipede, Crystal Castles, Missile Command, and Millipede. 4 good games, all that require a trackball. So this mini cabinet comes with the trackball built in and everything set up so that you can actually play these 4 games properly
with Centipede artwork.
With Centipede artwork, so it takes usually yes, this one has the Centipede artwork and a little Centipede marquee, and it's set up so that you can play these 4 trackball games hopefully properly. And then another one, there's this Asteroids one that has the proper button layout for the actual Asteroids game.
Thank you.
It also has Tempest, Major Havoc, and Lunar Lander. There's a spinner on this, which means that you have the proper control scheme. Whether you're playing Asteroids, Tempest, Major Havoc, or Lunar Lander, you have the right controls at your hands for
No, you don't need a spinner for Asteroids, but it's optional, and it'd be cool to use it.
it's well, that's there for Tempest.
But I'm just saying, you could, in theory, use it to rotate, though, in Asteroids.
Well, I guess I don't know if they would add that though. I think it's just probably there for Tempest.
Okay, but either way, I'm saying either way, you have the traditional layout.
Yeah.
You have the 5-button layout you need for Asteroids.
It's giving you what you need for these. The only one that's a little upsetting is the Rampage one. Is what a fucking.
Well, we'll get
the
the Rampage in a second.
Okay.
Let's look at the Street Fighter one. So the Street Fighter one has your traditional 2 joysticks, 6 buttons. It's a Street Fighter 2 Champion cabinet, which I always like, that little grayish charcoal, little fuzzy thing going on. And you get Street Fighter 2 Champion Edition, Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo, and Super Street Fighter 2, the new challengers, the regular one. So you get those 3. Most people probably would stick with Champion or Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo.
Yep.
On that. And then now we get to the one that Ian has a problem with, and I kind of do too. So this is branded as a Rampage Midway Classic Arcade machine. You get Rampage, Gauntlet, Joust, and Defender. That's a good. They don't all fit together exactly, but they're all games within the same library, and they're all classics. So you get 3 joysticks with a couple buttons each on there. So that's perfect for Rampage because that's a 3-player game. Gauntlet's 4 though. So if you really want to be technical, that's kind of upsetting. They probably did it for cost and keep the cabinet smaller.
Yeah, it's a minor beef. It's minor because it's small and they have to keep it small. It's just they have the 3 for Rampage and Rampage only needs 3. It's nice that they threw Gauntlet on there. Honestly, I mean, even if they put a 4th one on there, it's probably impossible to crowd 4 people around that.
If it's only 19 inches wide, yeah,
Yes.
that's you're gonna be like this anyway. You're gonna be doing the little finger dance.
So I guess I really can't complain about it, but still, that's pretty neat. And then so then real quickly,
And the last one,
you've got the final fight.
Final Fight: Ghosts and Goblins, 1944, The Loop Master. I never knew that was the subtitle. And then Strider. So this is an interesting little Capcom collection. These are all excellent games in the arcade. They don't like fit together when you look at them, but they're at least, they're all Capcom classics that were popular in the arcade.
Yeah, 1944, I believe, is 2 players simultaneous as well as Final Fight, so it gives you something to do with those 2 joysticks.
Yeah.
So they're neat. I think as far as multicades go, look, style, size, I think they're all pretty cool. I'd really have to see the quality of like the LCD screen.
On the button quality.
And the button quality, stick quality.
What type of joysticks they're using. They look decent, but I can't tell. It looks like they're using... You can't tell really what type they're using. Let me see if I can find that on the site here.
So concept-wise, I like them. Would I ever buy one? No, they're not. They don't appeal to me in that way. However, I think for what they are and what the concept is, I really do like... I like what they've done despite it not being for me. I really like the fact that they picked the games.
They use the real artwork.
They use the real artwork, and they picked the games and matched them with control schemes that make sense. What I've always said is that the appeal of an arcade cabinet, especially for me, is that it provides the unique control schemes that make some of those old games what they are. It's very hard to recreate the feeling of something like Asteroids at home. It's hard to recreate the feeling of something like Centipede at home. You can't do it without the right button setup, or you cannot play Tempest anywhere but an arcade. I'm sorry,
You need a spinner.
You need a spinner to play Tempest.
That's why
properly.
I put a spinner in my main cabinet.
So it's really nice to see this as an option. The Centipede one is really tempting to me. Centipede's one of my favorite games of all time.
So these are going to be $3.99 retail or $2.99 if you pre-order them. The accessories are kind of silly. They have a branded Arcade1Up stool if you want to sit and play, or a riser. Looks like it's about a foot and a half to make it the same size as a traditional arcade machine. Obviously, it's
still skinny.
Still skinny. You could probably make your own. I don't know if it's like a $20 item, $30. I would probably buy it just to not use the stool. It is what it is. They're trying to keep the cost down, but still provide a solution for you. Get a little more money out of you for that. So there's an FAQ here. What's on the FAQ here? Where can I pre-order these? You can pre-order them GameStop, in-store, online, at Walmart, Bed Bath & Beyond, FYE. They still exist, FYE? I guess they do.
Yeah, they do. It's weird.
Will retailers carry the machines in the fall? Most major retailers for the 4 core machines are Bed Bath & Beyond, Target, FYE, Hamacher Schlemmer, and Scheels. I guess they're not in this country. All right. The risers and stools will be at Walmart, Bed Bath & Beyond, FYE, and some specialty stores. Are you distributing to mom and pop stores? We do have a distributor. Okay. And they will be available in Canada and Europe. So, all right. I think at $300, I think that's a good price point for these.
I think $300
is a little much.
Yes, exactly. I didn't realize that the pre-order price was pre-order only. Yeah, $400 I think is a bit much. I think $300 is actually a pretty decent sweet spot price. At $400, I think you pick your favorite game and start saving for a real cabinet.
If you want now they sell those combo new ones. Centipede, you can get the Centipede, Millipede, Missile Command, like licensed real giant ones, but those are probably going to cost you a couple
Those are probably
grand.
going to be real expensive. I mean, it's tough for me to say. At $400, I start thinking about, well, where could I put this?
Yeah, $400, I think I'd like a real size reproduction one.
That's more what I'm thinking.
Now it's just not a novelty at that price. Now you want something more substantial.
But $300, I guess.
This is what I wanted a Neo Geo thing to be, kind of closer to this.
If I had $300, I would be real tempted if I liked Tempest just a little bit more.
They're not that big.
If I liked
19 inches wide, that's like nothing.
If I liked Tempest just a little bit more. Or if I was rich enough, Centipede would be a no-brainer for me if it was like a really nice quality.
So that one you get, if you had a choice, if you had your druthers, you get that one.
Centipede? Oh, Centipede would be, yeah.
I'd probably go the Asteroids Tempest one first, because they're probably a little more fond of those. You know, I like those games as well. That's probably the one I would go for.
I've said forever, Centipede. If I could, I have no interest in owning arcade cabinets really, unless it was like a candy cab with a bunch of shooter boards. But if I were to own one classic arcade cabinet, it would be Centipede, because you just can't recreate that one at home.
Centipede, you can't run away. You can't run away.
Goddamn fantastic game.
All right. So in gaming website news, we have the Escapist magazine coming back. You know, so the Escapist was popular for Zero Punctuation series.
Yep.
That was huge for like what, 6 years.
Late tens, in the late aughts.
The late aughts, early
Yeah,
tens.
it was the late aughts.
Is that early? Yeah. What do they call the tens? The tens?
Teens, I don't know. Late aughts. It was
The teens, late aughts.
Yeah.
What was his name? Ben Croshaw? Yahtzee?
Ben Kershaw, yeah, something like that.
So the Escapists, I guess they went under at some point. The company that was investing in them got out of it.
They got overrun politically by far right in the I would say 2013, 2014 era.
They lost share because of that.
I mean the website fell into, if you want to try to keep this politics free, during the absolutely shitty awful Gamergate era, that place became sort of a home base for all of those shitlords, and it lost popularity, and it eventually it fell under.
So there's an announcement that they're trying to come back with the Escapist. On a Medium article by the new editor-in-chief Russ Pitts, he explains about how he used to work for the website. He saw it end, and now they're trying to bring it back. So different strategy this time, though. Towards the end of 2017, I learned that the Escapist, then owned by Defy Media, will be coming up for sale. It had been severely neglected. Almost everyone who had worked there had been laid off. The offices in North Carolina had been closed. Nobody was even bothering to sell ads in the thing. It was derelict. Okay. To make matters worse, beginning at some point in 2013 and 2014, the Escapist forum publisher had allowed the website to become a home to political extremists. Whether right or left wing doesn't matter here, although you may know which. It wasn't a secret. It also wasn't interesting. For a time before it was allowed to begin dying, the Escapist editors routinely chose and created content based on a political agenda over journalistic insight. As a result, those not willing to put their political opinions in front of their journalism left the Escapists behind. All right. So now it's going to come back with Russ Pitts at the helm. Okay? So now what the strategy is now is to not have any politics in their gaming coverage. In order to not, I guess, to make it clean, to have people have not have people storm away from the site before or attract an element they don't want. All right? So my question is this. This isn't even left or right. Is it even feasible in order to cover anything at this point while being politics free? I would venture to say that would be an extremely difficult venture in any time. But now when you're covering any sort of game that even has, I'm not even talking about games that have politics in it, like the new Far Cry games that have some sort of political message. Not even talking that would make it almost impossible to cover that. But when we're talking certain studios that are closing up for financial reasons, when you're talking about shifts in what gamers want to play, or news about certain games not coming out in the East versus West, like Dead or Alive Extreme, it's going to be really difficult to tackle some of these issues and not bring any sort of political, not even stance, but any sort of politics into the conversation about why these things are occurring. And I think I see the reason why you'd want to say you'd want to keep politics out of it, but I don't know if it's even something you can do without really stunting what you're covering.
Yeah, it's good luck. But if there was ever a place, I mean, if there was ever a name where you would want to try to do that, it would be a place like The Escapist. But one, I feel like The Escapist name has probably been dragged through the dirt, and unfortunately, I don't feel like The Escapist is a repairable name at this point. Two, I think we would all like to think that there is a magical place where we could go for dry gaming news or gaming news that is apolitical. But what that ends up with is you end up with a site like the Magic Box, which was literally just dry news. This company has announced this. This company has announced this. Great place for resource, but that's it. That's all. With this, the problem is that this is going to turn into a bigger. This has the by saying that you don't want this to be political, this is going to turn into a potentially larger political nightmare for them. If you don't want it to be political, that means that the articles are going to have to be read by an editor, and they're going to have to decide that this is not political. If something is political and someone has to come down on them or say this needs to be removed because it's too political, what needs to be removed? Is this does this need to be removed because it's too to the left? Does this need to be removed because it's too to the right? Well, then there's going to be an outcry.
Or people are going to say that certain coverage is political.
This is political when it's
to cover something.
Right. Just to cover. Yeah. Whether it's
there's editorial bias versus actual coverage bias.
Whether from within an editor says no, that this cannot be written because it's too political, or from the outside someone sees something as too political. There's no way where that is going to end well. You can say, sure, no op-eds that are political.
Sure.
You can say that. That's fine. You can try to avoid those topics, but you can't say no politics and expect that to go well. We live in a political world. It's like when people say, keep politics out of my games, keep politics out of my comics, keep politics out of my movies, my shows, my music. No, all of that stuff has that in there because it's a creative release. Even writing about stuff is a creative release. It's going to be in there. It's as silly as saying, I'm going to release a system that is going to have only bug-free games.
I never heard of that. Who would do that?
I don't know.
That's insane.
I'm freeballing on that one. Okay. Freewheeling. But I want to say it's noble, but it's just it's very short-sighted.
It's naive. I don't think it's noble. I think it's naive.
It's you're gonna create more problems than not.
He said, one thing I can tell you without delay or equivocation, I love that word, we're leaving politics at the door. Most of us have thoughts about politics, just like most of you. And because we're creators, those thoughts might show up in our work. Avoiding that would be unnatural. That said, I can promise you no one here will share their politics in an attempt to convince you that yours are wrong. See, if they get more to that stance, then I think this has a chance.
Sure.
Because what I saw and what you see sometimes on certain websites, like Polygon, is they'll come out and basically they'll like cover news and basically say why their political stance is right in the middle of their coverage. And if you're going to say you're going to avoid that, I'm talking about the author's stance. You'll be reading a normal article and it'll be like, oh, well, this is why this is wrong. And it's like, okay, you can easily edit that stuff out.
Well, more to the point, that's what happened with The Escapist.
But in the opposite direction, probably. More right-wing versus left.
Yes.
So you can avoid that. That's a noble cause. But to say you're going to leave politics out of all your gaming coverage, I think, again, that's naive. If you can take a scalpel to some things, but you cannot divorce yourself from it entirely. So
a more chill news site would be excellent. A more chill gaming site would be great. But sure. I think the mission statement just needs a bit more...
we'll have to see
a bit more prison.
We'll have to see this after it's out for a month or so to see, first of all, what sort of writers they have, what type of people are they attracting to the site, what sort of talent are they trying to see. This is where you get into actual politics and how you're doing a website. If you're being apolitical, does that mean I don't want anyone with a political stance that I know of to write for me, or does that mean I'm going to get people from any political stance to write for me, but I don't want to hear your overt politics in the articles? See, they both can be. You can go either strategy, but I think one is harder versus the other.
People with no political stance are the most boring fucking people on the face of the planet.
Sure. But there are people that are journalists that keep their politics divorced from what they cover.
Oh, sure.
So, like, again, this is a wait and see. This could be something that could be, like you said, could be a noble, even if it's naive, and see if it works out, or it could be an absolute fucking disaster. It can be because you won't be able to please maybe anyone. So we'll see what happens with this.
Unfortunately, like I said, I don't think it's not something that. I don't think it's a bad idea. It's not like I'm not against the idea. It's just I don't think it's possible. The internet there is no way to please the internet, especially right now, and they will find a way to pick it apart. Yeah,
they're gonna go to it now as like honey to a flower.
Honey
to a flower, bees to honey, bees to a flower. I mixed up 3 metaphors at once. So we'll see what happens with that, I guess. We're going to see if it's really an escape. Ian, you want to talk about Supreme Pinball?
Yeah. So this was released about 2 months ago, and I'm about to just check what the current value of this thing is.
The value.
Oh, okay, yeah, someone's got it on eBay for $59,999, and I'm sure it's not going for that.
And this is a new pinball machine by Stern.
Well, let's get into it. So, Supreme
Victory.
Supreme is a skateboarding company. Skateboarding fashion, skateboarding. They actually sell decks and stuff like that. It started in New York City in 1994, I think. They have a bunch of locations now. I think it's like
Retail areas? The retail shops?
Retail shops.
Okay.
I think it's like I think it's about 10. I think it's around 10. All over the world. Over the years, it's become very, very popular. Very famous. Lots of celebrities have sported their clothes. They've done lots of clothing lines, t-shirts with celebrities on there. The long story short is I don't understand, a ton about the quote unquote hype market and stuff like that in clothes and how this sort of stuff works. However, Supreme stuff is highly, highly desirable on the secondhand market.
When you say Supreme, this stuff is branded with their logo. Supreme, which is a like more generic white font with red rectangle background.
It's impact font, I believe.
Impact font.
Yeah, it looks
so people want merchandise that just says Supreme on them.
That's their logo. Yeah, it was. It looks like propaganda. It looks like a propaganda.
They've done
font.
According to Wikipedia, they've done cruiser bicycles, bricks, crowbars.
Yes, the brick.
Gas-powered mini bike with Coleman Company, an Everlast punching bag. So these are things you can get. I think you can get bricks in the real world that don't say Supreme on them, but they're going to brand.
These are things that they have branded and put out for sale.
Okay.
But they started as a skateboarding company, and they still are. They have a store. I think their original one was like this, but their original design is like it's all open in the center and everything's around on the walls, so you can actually skateboard in the store while you're shopping. So interesting stuff, but it became crazy popular, and now they release things and people get crazy about buying it. It flips for an insane amount. Stuff that they release.
Because it's limited. Limited.
Yeah, they say it's not limited, but they release things that they don't want to be stuck with any leftover stock.
Sure.
So things like the brick, I think, released for like $50 or $100.
They sold a regular.
It was a brick,
dollar brick.
That was
50-cent brick.
It was a brick that was made in a mold that had. So when it came out, it had the Supreme logo on the top.
On it.
Yeah. And I saw it being flipped for like $1,000, $2,000.
Who the fuck is buying that?
People who want status symbols. That's what all this stuff has become. There are like bots and stuff. So people use like bots that they use for like scraping like limited shoe sales and stuff. Like people will like buy. I don't understand all this, but people will buy into slots for like bots. People will make like programs that like scrape websites to try to get like better spots in line to increase your chances to buy things from like Supreme
you have to pay
goods.
in to be in the bot.
Yeah,
to be in the bot line.
Yeah,
there's Supreme bots out there that they branded.
They're bots
for
everything. Yeah.
Oh my god.
So anyway, this came to my attention. So I know a little bit about Supreme just because I know some people who are really into clothes, fashion, and that sort of stuff.
But they're not even making their own clothes though. They're just
they do.
branding.
They do.
From other, like I saw this, they have Hanes T-shirts that are branded Supreme.
Well,
according to Wikipedia.
But they also make their own stuff.
They do.
Yes.
Okay, it's not just all rebranding other merchandise.
No,
okay.
I mean they do collaborations with other brands, but they do have their own merchandise.
The bricks are on sale on eBay right now. One's for $500 in the box, and one is loose for $148.
Oh, okay, that's what it is. The $2,000 one I think was maybe just an asking price. So this Supreme pinball machine came to my attention because I love the shit out of pinball, and someone showed it to me. So the Supreme pinball machine came out for, I believe it was sold at $8,000 was the original price that it came out
which
for.
is a Stern pinball price kind of.
It's a higher end. It's higher than a limited. So it's limited. It's a higher end Stern pinball price. but it's not crazy out there.
Sure.
It's less than what people thought. People were assuming that it was going to be about 10,000, I think, at retail.
And this is a Supreme branded generic pinball machine.
Well, it's a pinball, so it's supposed to be a Supreme Stern table. It's decked out in the Supreme logo. It's
White and red.
It's all white and white and silver on the outside. The back box is the start of the Supreme logo, and it goes down into the playfield. And then the playfield itself is very basic and Spartan looking. It's all done in like generic Supreme logo. So
just white and red splashes and stars and
so the targets are easy to read. But yeah, there's very little in the way of an actual theme. It's generic.
The theme is Supreme.
Yeah.
Everything says Supreme.
Yeah, the theme is Supreme. So it came out for that price, and immediately people were trying to get it and flip it. And now it looks like people are trying to get 60,000 for it. I have no idea how much people are actually getting for it right now. I don't know if you want to see if there's any sold ones.
Okay, let's see if there's any sold ones.
What I find amusing about this, and I was upset at first because I want to play every pinball machine, like, you know, that I can.
Okay.
And I was like, oh shit, they're only making 200 of these. I was like, well, 200, lots of pinball machines have only had 200 made, and I've played, you know, plenty of pinball machines with low releases. But this one was so sought after, I was like, okay, I'm never going to get to play one. I looked into it. The Supreme Stern pinball machine is just a reskin of their Spider-Man Home Edition pinball machine. So Stern didn't even make an original table for the Supreme
They didn't
machine.
bother.
They took their Home Edition pinball machine, which is a cheaper pinball machine without like all the bells and whistles and stuff. So it's not the actual Spider-Man machine that is fucking fantastic, award-winning you see out like on
the newer one.
Yeah, well, the one from 2007. But then they re-released it as a Vault Edition in 2016. It's at Harbor
they
Town.
got rid of all the movie theme stuff. And
Yeah, it's a great machine.
Yeah.
No, this is one that was specifically designed just for like home use, and it's like a $5,000 machine, a $4,000, $5,000 machine. They changed the theming to the Supreme theme, doubled the price on it, and released it. So, you know, I was talking to some people days before it came out for sale. I was talking to people who were into it, and some of these people were really nice because I was, you know, making fun of it for a bit, and they're like, hey, you know, it's how this game is played. They're like, the whole thing of Supreme at this point now is about buying it and flipping it. And I was like, well, when I guess that culture gets so bad that is what the culture is, you know, the flipping culture, I have to.
there's a flipping culture now.
Yeah, I was like, I guess I have to come at
culture.
it. It's a culture. I was like, I guess I have to come at it a different way. But they're like, you may think it's ridiculous, but no one who's buying this cares. You know,
Sure.
I was like, oh, Stern got one over on him, and I said, I never have to worry about it because I can play this a different way. And they're like, no one cares. They said this could be a non-functioning pinball machine. They said it could be a shot. It could be the worst pinball machine in the world. They don't care.
They just want it because it's Supreme branded.
They just want it because it's
How
Supreme
many
branded.
people are actually going to take this out of the fucking shipping box and put it together? Out of the 200, will even half be put together?
That question is not one that I can answer, and I don't know if I care.
I mean, that's what we're getting down to here, because people were bidding on eBay. People were saying, here's $16,000 to buy one new for me. And then people had like the receipt. So the lowest price one was $9,500, I saw. $16,000, $18,000, $12,000. Then once it's actually been out, though, yeah, there was a $60,000 or best offer that was accepted. $63,000 buy it now, $45,000 buy it now that were sold.
Wow.
Or 6 bids on that one. So that one sold June 12th for $45,000. This is a generic, fucking shitty looking pinball machine.
I literally saw people talking about taking out lines of credit to get this because they knew they could flip it. And make
Which
that,
is
and
an
make,
insane thing
that,
to do, by the way.
And make that kind of money. And I doubted it.
I would still not recommend that out there. Don't take out a second mortgage to buy fucking Bitcoin or buy a pinball machine to flip.
Because
you're going to get burnt.
Because you're going to get burnt at some
Someone's
point.
going to get burnt.
But yeah, there's someone out there that I have to eat my words to who told me, because I was like, that's not going to flip for more than 25. And I said that price is going to come crashing down. That price will crash at some point.
You actually took out a loan?
No, just like what it would. Oh, I'm sure someone did. I'm just talking about what it would flip for.
Oh.
I was like, it's not going to flip for more than 25. It did.
There's a sucker born every minute. That's the expression. But at some point in this flipping game, someone's going to be stuck 5 years from now, having paid $45,000 for a pinball machine that they won't be able to get that 60 or 70,000 for. It'll be worth half of that or less than half at some point. I mean, it's just going to happen.
Yeah.
Is there going to be a Tesla limited Supreme car? Is that what's going to happen?
Maybe. Give it some time. So
It's insane. Speaking of pinball, though, I had a conversation with Ben Heck.
yeah, we talked about
We
that
talked about that.
earlier.
I don't think he heard my conversation with Ben. Hats off to Ben. Good luck on his post YouTube career. I wish I was in my post YouTube career at this point.
Good luck, Ben.
He's a lot happier than when I spoke to him originally a year ago. We're talking about this ties in with the pinball conversation about the collecting market and how, by and large, it's a rich, older male collecting market. Guys that are in their 40s and 50s and 60s that have enough money and space to collect multiple pinball machines, sometimes 10, sometimes 20. People just have a lot of space in the Midwest or whatever else. I'm not sure. I'll put him in this. I like the guy, but Chris Boucher has a lot of pinball machines.
Yeah.
A lot of ones that are older ones that are worth money, but even ones that are bought new. You have to have tens of thousands of dollars to be into pinball machines.
Oh, yeah.
And the prices keep climbing up.
Because if you want a new release, I mean, for people who may not be aware of what pinball machines cost, they weren't always quite this expensive, brand new. But if you look at some sort of inflation, maybe. But with inflation plus the fact that they aren't as popular as they once were, new pinball machines from Stern can start anywhere, and from other companies too. They can start anywhere from about $6,000, and then
Shipped.
If you go with start at about $6,000, and depending on which version you get and how tricked out you want it, let's just top it out at $10,000. And then if you get it from a local distributor or operator, of course, there's always the possibility to work some sort of a deal. But those are the list. Those are the MSRPs. Those are the list prices.
And as more competing pinball companies now, there's like 5 or 6 of them have come out. The prices have gone up. They haven't gone down on these machines.
So
they're feeding this sort of weird demand, not just for new machines to play, but there's a collector's market in here as well. People that think this is an investment on these machines at the same time. And there's also re-releases of games that are licensed like Medieval Madness and Attack from Mars, and those prices are somewhat cheaper than if you get the restored original ones, but not to the extent that you think it should be.
now they've dropped a couple thousand, but yeah, still not an insane amount.
Yeah. So
I've seen Attacks from Mars in the 7,000 range, and Medieval Madness is in the 7,000 to 8,000 range, which is
original one, they've come back down a little bit.
Yeah, which is better than the 10,000,
Yes.
15,000, or 10,000, 10,500 I was seeing them go for, 2-3 years ago.
But the price overall, there's more pinball machines being made than ever before, since the 90s now.
Yeah.
Since the mid-90s, when you had like 5 or 6 different companies doing it back then, major ones, Data East, Sega was doing it with my beloved Baywatch pinball machine.
Well,
And
Data
Bally.
East became Sega.
They did.
Stern became Data East, became Sega, became Stern.
So there wasn't Sega and Data East ones being made at the same time concurrently in the 90s?
No.
There wasn't. Okay.
If I'm correct, and I think I am there, it went Stern, Data East, Sega, and then back to Stern.
Okay, then. But there were other ones, though.
And there was Sega did make, there was a Sega pinball division like ages ago that was Japan only too.
Okay.
So the thing about pinball though is I've already started to see it in some instances, but we're definitely heading there. It's a rich hobby. The collector market is
Richer
rich.
than Neo Geo.
It's rich people. And a lot of them, especially when I started looking into buying a pinball machine, they were younger people who had found this hobby and had space. Silicon Valley was where a lot of it was happening.
Sure.
That area, the Northeast, or the Northwest, because there was always a pinball culture in the Northwest as well, that had been there. So these machines were around, and they started buying up these machines. And the prices started to go high as the pinball hobby got bigger. And they started to fill up the space. And some of these people I've seen already have to offload these machines as they start to get married, start a family, significant
Put kids through college.
yeah, significant others,
Get divorced.
want space, they have to move,
Alimony.
someone has to move
Retirement.
and suddenly they realize they have 10 pinball machines, and that's a lot of stuff to move. But it's not quite there yet. We still have people entrenched in the hobby who are in their 50s. I'd say a lot of the biggest collectors are probably, like you said, late 40s, mid 50s. And what we're going to see is given enough time, people are going to have to get rid of these, and there's just not going to be enough people to pick up this slack.
There hasn't been a passing of the torch of pinball culture. There hasn't been enough education. There has been enough examples of ingratiating the culture with teenagers and younger children. Just isn't. Because they're huge machines. They're costly. They're heavy. Yeah, there's some video games that come out every now and then that you can play, but that's not the same experience. So it's tough to transfer that over to someone down the line, and that's really something where you need arcades to exist to fill the arcades with. And while barcades have made a comeback, there's never going to be as many arcades as what there was 25 years ago. This won't be. So what happens to all these thousands of machines in 15 years that are out there?
Yeah.
What happens to them? And you might think it's not a large enough number to matter, but it does when you have someone, if you even have 100 of one pinball machine out there, and they all come back on the market, or even 50, and then you're gonna have no one with the money that they're gonna expect to want to get. Oh, I paid $10,000 for my Medieval Madness. Cool. No one wants it anymore, or no one has $10,000 for it. Maybe someone has $2,000 on a lark. But they're not gonna have 10 for it. And what do you do then?
Right.
They got to go somewhere.
People look at numbers of pinball machines produced, and they might see something that has a run of 1,000 and go, that's not much. But in a world where pinball machines are not on a lot of operating floor, or aren't operating in a lot of locations, and are mostly a lot of times in specific arcades, specific areas, at festivals, or in private collections, it's a lot.
There's very few places that will be able to house a decent amount of pinball machines. Most arcades can't even do, or most barcades can't do it. They'll have 5 or 10.
Right.
But there's going to be a lot more coming out. Plus, there's new ones being made now by multiple companies every year. So you're not even counting the ones that still exist from the 60s, 70s, a lot more in the 80s and 90s that are still popular, that people still want. Now you have ones being made every year that people might want them now, but maybe 10 years from now, maybe people won't want the one coming. Maybe they don't want that Iron Man one. Maybe it will be passe at that point. That'll be like the Baywatch one of the 90s. I like that Baywatch one.
Yeah, the last time I saw an influx of younger people was, I don't know, when I started playing pinball, league pinball in my mid-20s, early 20s.
But that was before this rise of them back up in terms of all these different companies making
Well,
them.
that was when Stern started to
Pump them out again.
really start making them again, and you could start finding them.
The World Series of Poker machine, things like that.
Once in a blue moon, you would actually start seeing a new pinball machine out somewhere. You'd be like, oh, what the fuck?
Harley Davidson, or
Yeah.
Sopranos.
And then, you started to find bars that would have more than one, and then, that's when I found out about, playing, tournament pinball and stuff. But now I look around and I'm like, I'm still playing pinball with all the same people I've been playing pinball with for the past 10, 12 years,
So there
and
has to
I
be-
haven't seen a lot of new influx.
There's no outreach. How do you do that? Like, how do you get young kids to play pinball machines, really?
Well, I mean, the thing is people still are. I think the problem is that
It's a model train thing.
it's not cheap to play pinball anymore. So basically, the loop is kind of closed back off. Pinball's intimidating for a lot of people because they think it's all luck, which it's not. It's very little luck. It's a buck a play most places. For the new machines, it's a buck a play. A buck that you lose real quick if you've never played pinball before.
Or if the machine's hard.
Or if it's a hard
that
machine.
total nuclear annihilation one, it's the learning curve of that one. It took me like 3-4 plays to get the hang of it.
Fucking love that machine, but it's
So do I.
difficult.
Yeah.
The new Star Wars machine, everyone's going to want to go play the new Star Wars machine, the Stern one from like last year. Difficult machine.
Yeah.
Not a machine I would tell anyone to start on.
Way harder than the classic one from the 90s.
Spider-Man, on the other hand, is a great machine to start on. I'd tell almost anyone, if you want to start playing pinball, if you want to play a machine that's really not so bad, that's a little bit more forgiving, play the Stern, play Stern Spider-Man. I don't mind the Star Wars machine, but it's the shots aren't super forgiving if you haven't played pinball. So it can be frustrating for people to get into. And now that the price of pinball has gone back up, because there are people who will go play it and they know they can get $1 out of the people who will play, it's definitely shut off other people from being able to try it.
So you're going to get to the point where you're going to probably recede back to one pinball company again. Might probably be Stern, that'll survive. And then you'll have a bunch of machines that who knows where they're going to end up 15 years from. Like we don't know. We just don't.
Yeah.
Because even if someone can say they even went down a bargain $1,000, cool. I have no room for this still. I can buy one or two. Most people won't have room for a ton of them, So
there'll be hungry people who love the hobby,
and
who
plus
will
the
find
upkeep.
room,
The upkeep
but-
is intimidating as well. The
Yes.
upkeep is extremely intimidating. Not many people know how to replace the lights or solder things or deal with diodes and things like that. No one has the knowledge readily available to them. It's not like, I buy a console, I can clean an NES. I got a giant machine I have to have serviced every now and then. That's expensive. Or make sure a part doesn't break. That'd be hard to replace. We're talking about machines that have dozens or hundreds of parts potentially.
Sure.
It's all too intimidating for a lot of people.
I can work on an 80s pinball machine pretty well if it's playfield related. Backbox I can't do. I can do playfield stuff on an 80s pinball machine. I can fix bumpers. I can fix I can fix bumper switches and drop target switches and stuff like that. I can replace a coil. But I can't do backbox stuff. And on a modern machine with all the toys and shit, fuck. Probably not.
No. You have to be in the community. You have to know someone that's reproducing the stuff, or know someone has new old stock.
You're eating on microphone.
Yep.
I can goddamn hear it. It's so bad.
It's an intermittent fasting, damn it. I'm heating up. You see the sweat on me. Ian, speaking of annoyances, you often don't like things in your butt.
No.
But now, you can get an officially licensed Pikachu butt plug charger.
I want this pretty dang bad. This is fantastic. Unfortunately, right now it's Japan only, which means I couldn't fit it in a socket here. Oh no, it looks like I can. Yep, it's fine. Gonna need to get this. Oh, that's right. Japan runs on the same as us. I think I saw a UK one. So it's a. I need this so bad. So the little bricks that you have that you stick your USBs into for charging your phones and all sorts of other things. This is just the bottom half of a Pikachu, and you stick it into your outlet, and it's just his ass sticking out. So it looks like he's stuck in a wall socket, and you stick the USB bit in his belly.
Yeah, it looks like he dove head first because he likes electricity. He's feasting on some.
Yep, he dove head first.
And now he's stuck.
Right.
And now you're torturing him by getting all the juice from his cute little belly button.
Yep.
USB belly button.
Yeah, I don't know why I need this so bad.
I know why you need it, because you're a deviant.
Yeah.
And you like Pokemon. That's why you need it.
Yeah. I've been watching way too much Pokemon lately. Oh, yep, here's the butt one. There's a butt one.
Oh, there is a butt one, too.
Yeah.
Of course there's a butt one,
There's
too.
the butt one.
So there's one that is just a lower torso.
Oh, that's an unofficial one. Okay. So the butt one is unofficial. And
You
that
can get one from China that's unofficial where you literally stick it in his asshole.
And that's the one that I was looking at that's the one that was into a plug a plug type that I don't know.
So officially, we're going to be a little more non-risque and just stick it in his abdomen. If you want to go non-official and fulfill all your dreams, stick it in his butt. Get the unofficial, stick it in his ass. Pikachu's ass. And that's... You're going to have some dirty thoughts every time you have to charge your iPhone or Android device there. So what is this going to be? How much would you spend on this, Ian?
I'd spend $5. I'd spend $10.
This is not going to be $5.
I would spend $10.
This is going to be $10 if it's officially licensed.
I would spend $10 on this. Is there doesn't say.
They just announced it. Brand new, officially licensed Pikachu USB charger.
Only available to those in Japan.
That looks like its rear end is sticking out of your living room wall.
An upcoming series. There's going to be more chargers in the future.
More ass chargers or more abdomen chargers seeing the butt?
I don't know, but I'm going to catch them all.
Okay.
If your question is how many things do they need to make that are Pokemon themed, my answer is all of them.
How many different Pokemon asses are going to be able to market sticking out of the wall?
All of them.
All of them? All 200?
Them.
How many Pokemon are 200 plus Pokemon?
The 700 something.
There's 700. They're going to have...
Maybe 800
They'll,
now.
they'll probably pick like 5 or 10 of these to do.
Yeah, probably.
Squirtle's little butt.
A little Squirtle tush.
Little Squirtle.
Little Squirtle tush.
Why don't you just get the bootleg one where you stick it in his anus?
Because it's for a socket type that we don't use.
You can get an adapter.
But that would look weird.
It's 39 yen for the bootleg one. What does that come out to?
39 yen?
Pat math.
390 yen?
It says 39 on the website.
39 yen is like 39 cents.
35 cents. So that can't be right.
Yeah.
Maybe they need 390.
That would be like $4.
There are some disturbing images if you go to a bootleg website. There are some very disturbing images of the actual Pikachu plugged into the butt of the Pikachu plugged into the wall. And the look on his face is horrifying. It's like torture.
So
you can buy the bootleg one right now, or you can buy the or you can take part of the tail off. It looks like the bootleg one is cute because his ear it's like antennae almost plugging into the wall.
Oh yeah, no, he looks real upset. The bootleg one.
Yeah,
He's not happy at all.
he's not happy.
No, I wouldn't be either.
No, something might be plugged into his spot, plugged also into the wall.
Getting it from both ends, poor guy.
Yeah. All right. Well, there you go. People like Ian exist for the Pikachu butt plug. So go get it, or finer USB butt plugs are sold.
Gotta catch him.
Ian, the CU podcast is proud to be working with NordVPN. It's what I use to keep myself safe online, and Ian, you can too. If you care about your privacy and the security of your information, NordVPN is giving you 77% off a 3-year plan when you go to nordvpn.com/CUpodcast or use code CUpodcast at checkout. VPN stands for Virtual Private Network, and today having a VPN is more critical than ever. Why? Well, if you're doing anything online, your information and browsing habits are out there for anyone to get a hold of. Ian, you don't want to see where people are.
Nope.
Where you're fucking browsing. When you use NordVPN, you can have access to over 4,000 super speedy servers in 62 countries, and those connections secure your information using military-grade encryption. That means your information and what you do online is nearly impossible to track. I'm using the NordVPN app on my phone and on my laptop, so that means when I'm getting free Wi-Fi at the coffee shop, at an airport, maybe an upcoming convention, which I do from time to time, wherever, I know things like my passwords and banking info are masked. The folks at PC Mag gave NordVPN their editor's top VPN choice. Just one account lets you protect up to 6 devices. So if you got a phone, multiple computers, you're set to go. There's an app for Android and iOS, unlimited bandwidth, and a money-back guarantee. Other potential benefits: you can hop on servers around the world, as NordVPN lets you do, and you can try to access streaming services in other locales.
Yep.
You can try to do that.
Yep.
Again, to get that special offer, which breaks down only $2.75 per month, go to nordvpn.com/CUpodcast or use code CUpodcast and get going with your secure web browsing today, Ian.
All right.
Venom, Ian. The Venom trailer came out, the full trailer number 2.
Oh, good.
With New York Eddie Brock. I love Tom Hardy, but that accent's a little bit much. I know you got to get through your normal accent to do that, but he sounds like he's like Jesse Ventura, reporter looking for government conspiracies. I'm Jesse Ventura. The government's lying to you. Ever seen that show? It's ridiculous.
No, I have not.
It was like Alex Jones exists back then. It was like the pre-Alex Jones extreme the HARP system.
Oh,
controlling the weather. Anyway, so that's who Eddie Brock is in this movie.
HARP. Yeah, HARP that's something.
But that's who Eddie Brock seems like. He's going after conspiratorial news, and he finds the symbiote experiment going on, and he gets venom on himself, and he wants to eat pancreases and legs. It's the later popular version of Venom, where they went off the beaten track and made him a monster, and said, "I want to eat your brain, Spider-Man." That's not how he started. Again, that's how it was in the McFarlane days originally. But they gave him the tongue and the sloppiness and threatening to chew off people's faces and legs. And okay, I'm not a Venom guy. Again, I'm not a Venom guy. Other people are Venom guys. I guess if you're a Venom person, this is your movie that you want to see, where he's fighting other symbiotes in dark San Francisco. I don't think the movie takes place in the day at all, because that would require more expensive CG. Wink. That's why it's always at night. But he's fighting other symbiotes. I believe someone says it's Riot. By that point, I was off the Spider-Man books. Once they had anyone other than Carnage, I was out. I was out with the other symbiote spawns. I think 2 symbiotes is enough for me. but this is someone else, and there's going to be others, and there's probably going to be a Carnage fucking tease. I don't have interest, first of all, in a non-Spider-Man Venom again, but I really don't have an interest in symbiotes fighting each other. Because while visually it could be interesting, at some point you have to look at it and be like, okay, so you have them tearing each other apart and stretching each other. It's styles make fights, Ian, especially in comic books. And I don't think it's interesting to have symbiotes fighting each other. That might seem shallow, but that's when I first thing that popped out of me is like, if that's really going to be the confrontations in the movie, was how I'm taking out looks like rent-a-cops and thugs. I don't know. That's not a fight I want to see. It's also the reason why I got tired of Iron Man 1 and 2, where Iron Man's fighting other guys in Iron Man type suits. And to me, I need some more variety in the action there. But whatever. That's my thoughts. I think visually it looks all right. The effects look okay.
That's why I mean, as much as I like Black Panther,
the last fight sucked.
The last fight of Black Panther was boring, and
the CG was terrible as well.
Awful. Yeah,
they didn't need to use CG for those last two Black Panther fights to the extent they did.
Yeah. So no, I agree. That's annoying to me.
Symbiote.
I really have no stake in Venom whatsoever. I don't really care for the character. Don't know much about the character.
He's a New Yorker.
The movie to me looks like it could be fun enough or interesting enough. As anything other than a Venom movie. I mean, honestly.
It was a horror movie.
Yeah, it looks like a fairly interesting horror movie. It looks like it's got a fairly decent premise setup. I don't know. Maybe it's because I just finally saw Mad Max Fury Road and I liked it, and I thought Tom Hardy was actually pretty decent in it, and I thought maybe I wasn't gonna like Tom Hardy, but no, he was pretty good.
Well, you like he's great in everything he does. Tom Hardy.
I've never really seen anything else.
He was Bane.
Oh yeah, I still never saw Dark Knight Rises. Never finished it up.
A little bloated.
Yeah,
bloated.
Heard it was a little bloated.
Frank says it's the best movie ever. Frank's insane. But it's good movie, but The Dark Knight's probably the better of the. I actually prefer the original. I like seeing how he got his start. But okay.
I really liked.
Tom Hardy's always good. He was in that MMA movie a few years. He's been in tons of stuff. Tom Hardy.
I looked him up and I was like, I haven't seen almost anything you've been in, but yeah, I really liked Fury Road. So I feel like I could certainly give him a fighting chance in this. He
was in Dunkirk. Well, he's in all the movies by the director who did that, and Christopher Nolan. He's in all the Christopher Nolan movies.
Gotcha.
Yeah, he was in the other Inception. You didn't see Inception?
No.
Oh, that's an excellent movie.
Didn't see Inception.
Wow. Okay.
I don't see a lot of movies.
You don't have Movie Pass. He was in your favorite. He was in Sucker Punch as Rodders.
Oh,
you might have to see Sucker Punch.
Nope. So back to what I was saying. Yeah, I mean, it looks like it's got a little bit of humor in there, a little bit of darkish humor. The
Revenant. See that movie as well.
The Venom without Spider-Man, obviously, I understand why that's annoying. It's the Venom removed from any sort of superhero universe is what also seems odd. It's the Venom on its own without any sort of reference point at all. Just seems very bizarre to me. And that's
where do you go with him after this movie? He fights more fucking symbiotes every movie. Is that what this universe is going to be?
Right. At some point, you're hitting a brick wall in this movie. You can only do so much with a Venom that has no connection to anything else.
I still don't see how they're going to... I mean, Peter supposedly has a cameo in this. I don't know what the hell, how they're going to do that. Because, Marvel's going to be like, oh, we'll let you, have him, look on a computer and seeing a trend on Twitter about something going on in San Francisco. We're not going to have him show up and talk to Eddie Brock or anything like that.
Really? They're going to let him have a cameo?
Supposedly, Tom Holland's in the movie.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
But we don't know what he's going to be doing in it. So it's going to be like, oh, hey, Aunt May, look what's on the news across the country in San Francisco.
Okay, bye.
Okay, yeah. Anyway, so, all right. I will, I will see this movie in the theater. I think I will see it in the theaters. I probably would see this in the theaters before I see Aquaman. I think so. Actually, that's a toss-up. We'll see. My man! There was a my man moment in the Aquaman trailer.
Oh, was there?
Kind of, where he screamed something. I forgot what he screamed.
I didn't see
it wasn't as blatant. All right, Ian. We had the Patreon Q&A topic,
Bring.
you go to patreon.com/CU podcast. You can access the Discord and you get to choose on a topic. We also have a voice Q&A we have to get back to at some point. So the runaway winner, Ian, this time out.
All right, so these were the questions. Do you miss cheesy bad games based on movies and TV shows? 20%. Have you ever had a person be nasty online only to be nice in person? Pat keeps putting that one up
It
there.
keeps being second place.
19%
falls
it's
off.
last place today. And is there a poorly received game that you defended as misunderstood?
61% runaway hit. This is going to be a tough one to answer.
All right.
I might have to go to a certain NES guide app to go through it. I've always defended. If you want to go back to the basic games that people always say are crap on the NES, I'm looking at it right now. Jaws is not a bad game.
I very much like Jaws, actually.
Jaws is a fun, semi-open game that's really like has RPG elements to it and decent action. It's fairly well made. It's actually developed by Atlas, I believe.
Yeah.
Did that one. Remember, LGN just published the shit. They didn't program any of this stuff. So Jaws is one that I constantly defend as not a bad game. I think I gave it 3 stars according to a certain NES guidebook. No, I can't support Akari Warriors, and where that one got worse and worse as I got older. Unfortunately,
No, Akari Warriors
is miserable on the NES.
Is butt trash. It's fucking
It's butt trash.
it's disgusting. That game is fucking filthy. So I have a few games.
Let me sort by bad games here. Let me see this.
So one is actually one we touched on at the start of this podcast, and it's one that I defended for a while because I mean I wouldn't say it was misunderstood. I wouldn't try to defend it necessarily against the allegations that it was shipped incomplete because it wasn't what was promised. But I really enjoyed No Man's Sky when it first came out. I very much enjoyed it. A lot of it was because I didn't pay attention to previews or hype. I just kind of heard about it and got an idea of what it was and decided that this would be something that I think I would like. And when I got it, it was a great way for me to relieve stress, even without half the things that were promised. I just did a lot of flying around and landing on the planets and walking around. And even the things that there were available to do, I didn't do a lot of them. I just made sure I could keep my life support systems up and running and, protection from whatever hazards were on that planet running. And I'd just take off and land and walk around and see what it looked like. And there was certainly enough variety, at least in the planet structure at that time, for me to do so. Whenever people would ask about the game at work, it was one of those ones that I couldn't exactly recommend it, but I always tried to explain to people why I liked it. And sometimes people bought it, and I always made sure I told them that they could exchange it if they needed to. And sometimes people came back, and sometimes people actually, said that they also enjoyed it. That was a game that fell in price pretty quick too. I think at one point going as low as maybe $15. So it wasn't a huge risk. A couple other games that always pop to my mind that I like that most people don't. I am a Deadly Towers defender for the NES.
That's right.
I like Deadly Towers. I like the music. I like the structure of the game. The enemies are stupid. There's some slinkies and some bouncy balls and a whole lot
Puddle or something?
A puddle, yep. A whole lot of filler bullshit. Absolutely. Tons of bullshit. But I actually kind of like the game. It's not like amazing, but I think it's actually pretty fun. I like the layout and the enemy design. Some of the other enemy design is pretty good. And I only realized the other day that this one is not particularly liked, but I always liked it. Green Dog for the Sega Genesis. I like Green Dog.
I've never played it before.
The Beached Surfer Dude. It's I think it's a US only release, or US and European. It might not be in Japan. It was done by one of the Sega schools, and it's a basic platformer. The sprite's big. The hitbox is a little unwieldy. Controls are decent. But it's got really nice graphics, and it's got pretty decent music. It's colorful. You have to travel to the seven islands to get rid of a cursed amulet. You attack with a frisbee. I like games with frisbee attacks.
Wally Bear.
I'm gonna get to Wally Bear. Yeah, don't worry.
Running out of games quick.
I like games with frisbee attacks. And then there's skateboard levels and rollerblade levels, and those can be a little bit harsh. But I played that game a lot as a kid, and I would still recommend that game to someone today. And then lastly, can't deny it, I like Wally Bear and the No Gang. I do. I like that game. It's bad, but
it's fun.
There's
a fun charm to it.
It's an okay.
No, it's still problematic, but it's
got its issues.
terrible.
But as far as a lot of those AVE and Comerica and all those unlicensed
it's not Raid
games
2020.
it's not Raid 2020. Nothing is. Holy shit! Raid 2020 is
miserable.
so bad. So
I don't know if it's derided, but Nightmare on Elm Street is all I've seen derided. And that's actually a good game.
It's
on NES.
It's pretty good.
It's the best you're gonna do on an NES R-rated movie horror port. And it's 4 players, and it really builds in different elements from the film and going into the different Dream Warriors.
It really captures the Dream Warriors part of the game.
There are some horror elements for you have to wake up for Freddy comes and Freddy's coming. That's a quality game. I like that a lot better than the Friday the 13th game. A lot better.
Yeah.
That one's a little bit of a mess to me. That Friday the 13th one.
Friday the 13th game was a great idea, just executed horribly. The Nightmare on Elm Street one is a good idea. I don't think it's as cool of an idea, but it's executed way better.
I think it's a cool idea. You got to explore around, going to the different houses.
Yeah, it's all around executed better.
That's about it. I'm trying to look at TurboGrafx games that are derided. No, Battle Royale is shit. And I just didn't realize that as a kid. Battle Royale was...
Battle Royale
not many Turbo games to say that you have to defend, because there aren't that many that bad TurboGrafx games that you can bring up. JJ and Jeff haven't played in a long time. I forget if that's how bad that one was, for example. But okay. Well, thanks for the question out there. We have the question. Thanks for voting on the question.
Yeah.
Patreon.com/CU Podcast. Q&A time for real on the CU Podcast. This is from @MSU Hitman. Has Ian ever accidentally passed on a collector's edition trade-in at Luna that was actually really valuable? Lots of RPG or GameStop exclusive collector's editions retain increasing value. Or is it like plastic instruments that sell high online but gather dust in store? What do you say, Ian?
I've never accidentally passed on a collector's edition that was valuable.
You don't want it.
Yeah, we don't want them. Collector's editions are things that you can certainly, depending on what they are, and they have to be the right one too. A lot of those collector's editions are worthless the moment you take them home to anyone but yourself.
That giant Joker statue from Arkham Asylum.
But they take up too much space in the store. And they have to be, you have to find the very specific right person who not only wants that game, they have to love that game enough that they would want the collector's edition and not have already purchased that collector's edition. Because a lot of these crazy collector's editions that you can get they're recent. The US getting collector's editions that are, in that deluxe nature, really only started happening around the PlayStation 3 360 era in terms of coming out in that sort of coming out with that regularity. The Call of Duty's getting all those collector's editions. The RPG's finally getting the collector's editions.
Every major release almost.
All the art books and the the soundtrack CDs. I mean, you saw some of that in the PlayStation 2 era, but not as much now. So a lot of these people had the chances to get those. So you have to find the person who really loves the game. Then they have to love it enough to want the collector's edition. Then they have to love it enough to want to pay extra for this crap that they have to find space for in their house, which is why this person who already had that collector's edition in the first place got rid of their collector's edition, specifically to us, because we didn't want it that bad in the first place to pay them any extra money for it. And we already probably told them, look, you can probably get more money for this online. Look, there's a whole scenario that goes into us winding up with one or turning one down. It's never going to move in our store. It's going to take forever. and we don't want to eBay it. So if someone comes in and points to us and goes, "Yeah, but this collector's edition goes for 80 online," and I go, "Okay, then your best bet is to pay to put this online and sell it for 80 if you can get that."
Sure.
Because I could put an $80 price tag on this, and someday someone might pay me 80 for this collector's edition, but that person, it may take that person 5 years to walk in here.
Sure.
It's like the plastic instruments, and I saw that this person had kind of asked a secondary question about the plastic instruments when we were going through our Q&A topics. If we wanted to sell those plastic instruments that we get, yeah, you can get like $30 for some of them now. We give them away for free all day long. If people leave them, we get them back out of the store as quickly
What
as
does
we
a
can.
generic guitar go for?
I don't know. I don't even look, but I'm assuming probably $25-$30. That's what people have told
They
me.
don't make them that much anymore.
They don't make them at all. I mean, they don't make them, period.
They stopped doing that stuff.
They stopped doing it years and years ago.
I thought I still put out that some of that Guitar Hero stuff.
I mean, when Guitar Hero Live came out and Rock Band 4 came out, which was like 3 years ago,
That was it.
they did a quick run of that and then immediately shut that shit down because it wasn't popular enough. So no, they haven't put out instruments in forever. So you can get some money for them online, but we don't want to have to deal with warrantying them, testing them. None of us are going to take 2 seconds to set up a guitar and be like, this works. No, we don't give a shit. So we put them in a bin. It's at some point, it's not worth the hassle to try to get the extra couple of bucks out of this. They come in. Yes, you could probably get money selling these online. We don't want to deal with that shit. Okay, put them in that bin. We don't either. We can just pretend that these were never here and out the door they go. To a slightly, I don't know, more collector's point, more on the side of collecting stuff, we get Sega stuff in sometimes, like boxed, nice Sega systems in, power-based converters, systems like that. And oftentimes we're like, this is what you can get for this.
You're trying to weigh box power-based converters?
No. Listen to what I'm saying. On a collector's point, something similar. We get nice stuff in, like box power-based converters. People will try to sell nice box Sega systems. Sometimes other systems, like weird stuff, like people will try to get rid of boxed, weird computer stuff that, like, if we went to a trade show, or a Portland, I could put a price tag on these and get nice, decent
but
money
no one's
for
looking
them.
for your stuff. Yeah.
Exactly. Same thing with the Sega stuff, which is even more popular, but people don't think of it. They come in and they try to sell it, and I go, I can't give you much for this. And they're like, well, it sells for this online. Then take it and sell it online, because no one's coming in here looking for boxed Dreamcast broadband adapters.
Sure.
I know what that's worth. I cannot pay you a fair amount to get this into the store because it's never, ever going to sell. No one's coming into San Diego and being like, let's go to Luna Video Games and see if they have a boxed broadband adapter.
I have one of those.
So some of this stuff, it's not worth it for a store to necessarily bring it in because it's just never going to move. It's so hyper specialized that that's the sort of stuff you do want to sell online, or you do want to take specifically to a convention to sell. That's what people are looking for at conventions.
All right.
Ian asks, from Kate Cora, when you are guests at con, how do you guys manage your energy levels? As an introvert, I like people, but I find that I'm wiped out after a period of continuous socializing.
It's a grind. You have to have a predisposition to wanting to talk, interact with a lot of people. If not, you have to at least put on a smile. I mean, I've done it for years and years, so it's a little easier for me now. I'm disciplined. You have to conserve. If you're not going to be talking to people for like 5 to 7 hours a day, if not more, you have to conserve your energy level. Fortunately, that's not always possible. You have to make sure you're eating right throughout the day. You have some hydration is very important. You have to keep very well hydrated. Not having liquids inside of you can really drain you more quicker than you might think. Especially if you're talking to a lot of people, you're taking pictures, or you know, interacting with people. It's critical that you're constantly drinking something, or at least that, because that'll just you'll be fine 1 hour, next hour you'll be done, not realize, oh, I haven't drank anything in a few hours. That's important. Yeah, like I said, having healthy snacks throughout the day. You have to take a break. You have to take a 20-minute break every, you know, couple hours, 2 to 3 hours. Ian does his little spins around. I do my spins. You know, that's important to make sure that you don't get burnt out from it. If it's a 2-day convention, at least for me, 2 days is not as bad. If it's a 3-day, it can get rougher once you hit Sunday or even late Saturday, because it's a lot more time if you're at your table a lot to do that. But that's really it. You have to sleep well. I mean, Ian doesn't like to sleep, but at conventions, but you have to make sure you get your sleep in.
I don't sleep.
Sure, but Ian, you know, socializes sometimes at these conventions. And while I like to socialize, I like to make sure I get like at least 6 to 7 hours of sleep at a convention. It doesn't always work out, but if you don't get that, you're going to be wiped out for sure, because it does take a lot out of you. And then it's not counting the energy that goes into a panel or two. In some conventions, I do 3 panels. So it's a bunch of factors, but that's the best advice I can give. You have to stay energized, hydrated, you know, putting on a positive attitude. Even if you're tired, if you smile, it gives you more energy. It makes you feel better. It's uplifting even to smile, and you know, every little bit helps.
For me, some similar things there. One, I cannot, in all aspects of life, I cannot overstate how important hydration is, especially at a convention. Any place where you're constantly talking, moving, walking, sitting in one spot, anywhere where you may not be getting the best nutrition, you need to at least make sure you're hydrated. You will feel slow and sluggish and dizzy if you're not getting enough water. So that goes for attendees as well. Just make sure you're constantly drinking. For me, I love talking to people. I really do like to socialize, but I am an introvert and I do lose my stores of energy pretty quickly. So lately I've been trying to preemptively stay happy and peppy, which means that I have to take a lot more breaks than I used to. I don't go to these conventions. Well, I don't take my anti-anxiety medication anymore, or at least not regularly. I usually travel. I think I've taken it twice since I stopped completely, which was March. So only in emergencies. So that means I've had to really change some things around. When I take breaks on the con floor, I usually go find a friendly booth, people I know, sit behind the booth, and just chill. I need, some time to relax. I want all my time on the floor where I'm talking to people to be fun and good. So I need some moments where I'm not talking and not being talked at. I will find Chris from Windy Gaming or Carlson from Mad Gear, and I'll camp out behind their booth and hide. After the convention floor, before socializing at night, I will usually go back to the hotel room and take half an hour to just lay on lay on the bed and breathe, and kind of get myself back.
Lay on that whole wheat.
Get myself back to normal, find some balance. That does mean that I do start, I have started to skip some dinners or some sort of things, but it's better than pushing myself all the way and burning out. I've found myself to be a lot more alert and attentive when I am around people, if I just make sure I take those breaks for myself.
It's funny that you say you skip the dinners. I have to do the dinners because that's probably the only good food I'm going to have the whole day. So I make sure I load up on dinner usually. I hate to say it, it's a tradition now that whenever I go to these conventions, I find a sushi buffet because I love sushi, and that's usually what everyone agrees on. But getting it a good, healthy, protein-packed meal is probably what keeps me energized, especially for that next day, because usually throughout the day, either you eat very little or you eat whatever someone hands you, which isn't always the healthiest food.
It's
wears
just,
you down.
I have to play it by ear. When I say skip dinner, I don't mean I skip eating dinner. It's
You need social dinner.
it's sometimes a dinner that's too large is too much for me after being
Sure.
on the con floor. So maybe I'll find one other person, or I'll just go eat dinner by
sure.
myself. I'll just go eat dinner by myself in the lobby. It doesn't mean I'm skipping dinner
okay.
or I'm eating something unhealthy. It just means I'm not doing the big social dinner, especially if I know that I'm going to have a chance to see those people later that
sure.
evening or something.
Oh yeah, I prefer usually when it's like 4 people at most, or 5.
The jumping from I definitely learned that jumping from the con floor directly into something like a dinner is not always the best move.
Oh yeah, I usually like to go back to the hotel for 15-20 minutes at least and be like, okay, you know, rest, sit on the bed for a second, decompress. Now let's hit up the sushi buffet where I'll eat about $800 worth and get my money's worth in there. Speaking of that, we're going to be at Game On Expo.
Yep.
Game On Expo in beautiful Phoenix.
That is super soon.
It's a dry heat, Ian, and that's going to be August 10th through 12th.
No.
Go to GameOnExpoAZ.com for tickets and more information there. We're going to have people like our pal Andre. Meadows will be there. You're going to have Gerard, Khalil, the Completionist. You're going to have some bunch of voice actors are going to be there as well. You're going to have Daniel Pacina, Mortal Kombat fan, will be there. And the original Sonya Blade, Elizabeth Malecki. Sonya. And Richard DeVizio, who was Kano in Baraka. So lots of good people are going to be there. So again, go to GameOnExpoAZ.com. And those lovable old game chasers. And Chris Tang's going to be there as well. Good old Chris Tang.
I'm excited.
So check that out. And I think we had a promo code, but I got to find where it is. So anyway, so in the last Q&A is from at Griffin Acuna. Griffin Acuna. Do you think the prices for TurboGrafx 16 games and systems will ever come back down? I guess he means probably like pre-2011 levels, 2012 when they really shot up.
It's tough to say. I mean, at some point, the price for everything is going to come back down, right? Okay, at some point, you know, we'll get old and die, and no one's going to care about this shit, and it'll be sold off for pennies.
All right.
But
disheartening at all.
In terms of TurboGrafx stuff, I actually wonder if U.S. TurboGrafx games will come down at any point in the near future. And I think about that because, okay, the NES, for instance, was hugely popular. Everyone's, you know, bought stuff for it. It's a big collection. Takes up a lot of space. If people look at getting rid of something, they might look at the NES collection and say, okay, I can get rid of the NES collection. It's taking up a lot of space.
2 shelves.
Et cetera, et cetera.
Keep talking.
And at least I know personally for me, mentally, if I start to dismantle a collection, it's easier for that collection to fall apart and to go entirely. TurboGrafx is such a small collection that
it's right there.
Yeah.
It's not big.
In terms of, unless it was for money reasons, and that's not a massive sell-off, that wouldn't.
Well, if you have a full turbo set, that's pricey.
No, I just mean it doesn't indicate a massive amount of people selling it off. I don't see a lot of people just getting rid of a turbo set because they need to get out of the game necessarily. To me, it doesn't seem like it would be the first set. Doesn't seem like the first set that people would get rid of. I feel like if you're getting out of game collecting because it's taking up too much space or something like that, you would start with a larger collection. Turbo is something that, depending on how you collect it, how big of a collector you are, you could lose Turbo in the corner of your collection.
Yeah, that's the whole set.
So if people aren't getting rid of it, whether because they really like it or because they're just not thinking about getting rid of it, and there's not a ton of Turbo stuff out there, I could see Turbo stuff holding its price for a while. Also, the fans of Turbo, Turbo wasn't exceptionally cheap in the first place. It wasn't super expensive, but it wasn't NES cheap.
Half the library was under $20 at one point.
The expensive stuff was always pretty expensive.
Yeah, but when you're talking expensive, you're talking $50. I mean, there wasn't a lot of $100+ plus games. There was maybe 10. I mean, there wasn't a huge amount back then.
I mean,
I'm talking pre 2010 when people didn't know that it existed. For the most part, they sold less than 2 million in the U.S. I didn't know that. I thought they did a little better. They did 3.9 in Japan. They did 1.9 in the U.S. So you're not talking about a big base to begin with, but once people have it, like Ian says, like, oh, this is cool. It's small. They're cute little Who cards.
Yeah, especially if people aren't going for like complete, like with the cases and stuff. I mean, you can fit an entire, even with CD, you could fit an entire Turbo collection in 2 zip-up books.
Oh, just, I mean, if you actually took it out of the package. Yeah, it's so small. It's such a small, it's 100, in the U.S. it's 130, what is it, 136 games. So it's not a lot. They're cute. I think they have, the fact that there's not millions and millions of these games like what they had with like NES titles and Genesis titles, Super Nintendo titles, I think that's going to keep the price up more.
Yep.
But you don't know, like anything else, it could turn into a very, 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 it can be like the Fairchild Channel F in 40 years. Who knows? You don't know. You know, because the Fairchild Channel F is like the equivalent to the Atari 2600 back then. It's like, you don't know.
Right, but the Fairchild F never had a market. No one ever.
There was a market. It just wasn't. It wasn't
no one
here.
ever decided that no one ever ran the Fairchild Channel F up.
The Man in Box Odyssey sold a decent amount back in the early 70s,
yes,
the mid 70s.
But there was also never a collecting market that ran it up. I'm saying now that this has been run up, and
will come back down.
I don't think
I'm going to run up the Fairchild Channel F market.
All right.
I'm going to run up those ugly ass yellow cards. I still can't believe I ever found a few of those at the swap meet. All right.
Weirdo.
All right. That's not why I'm weird. There's other reasons. They're much more prolific. Okay. That's it for this CU podcast. Again, we're going to be at the
Game on Expo.
Game on Expo.
The 10th through the 12th
of August.
Game on Expo.
AZ.com.
AZ.com.
I already said it. What did you say? And then I'm doing a
Bring me beer. That's my birthday weekend.
Bring you beer.
Yeah.
That's your. You said it's just like a little petulant 4-year-old. That's my birthday weekend.
Yeah.
I'll buy you a meal.
It's gonna be hot.
Then I'm gonna be returning to a video game con in New Jersey, and also Retro World Expo in September, and I'll probably also Retroballooza. So that's a heavy month. And then we gotta probably within a month or two announce the date of the NES Marathon for this year, which I have a date in mind. I'm gonna talk to Ian right afterwards. I forgot about.
Wow.
And Ian's already said I'm done.
I'm not. I'm just moving this out of my face.
Yeah, once you
face.
You complain about me chewing. Hitting the mic constantly isn't good for people's ears as well. So that's Ian Ferguson. He's tired. I'm Pat Contry. We're gonna see you later as Ian does his Superman pose, whatever that is. That
was a stretch.
Go enjoy your Pikachu butt plugs, everyone.
Pikachu.